What is up? What is up, guys? Hello and welcome to your game plan to a secure future, a special online event brought to you by Web Insurance and St. Charles Financial Services. I am your host, Nathan Bush, and today I'm going to share with you some insightful and engaging information about how to put together a game plan for your secure future. First and foremost, I want to take time to thank you for joining us, your presence here on the show, and your commitment to securing your financial future and a prosperous future. We're here to support you every step of the way. Today's event is all about providing you with the knowledge and tools you need to make informed decisions about your financial future. Over the next 4 hours, yes, that's right, guys, we're going to go for 4 hours today. We'll be covering a wide range of topics, from the cost of long-term care, some government benefits that are available for you, to estate planning, aging in place, wealth transfers, and a litany of other things, slew of other things. So I want to give you a quick lineup today. You want to get the batting order. Again, this is your game plan for the secure future. I don't know, how the Cardinals have been doing lately, but I will tell you that we've got a great batting order and lineup today. First up today, it's going to be Jerry Grossman and Jordan Tobin. They're going to be talking about the cost of long-term care and government benefits. Then we're going to dive in with Linda Prio on how to age in place at your home. We're going to go and cover a litany of topics with estate planning attorney Raymond Chandler. Sharon Osborne is going to join us about different options for independent living. And then Ryan Gill is going to help you unpack and uncover and understand the big wealth transfers that happen on your side. And then lastly, Mike Webb's going to wrap everything up and bring it all together. We have got a great show today. Now, today's show is also interactive. It's interactive. We want you to be interactive throughout the entire show. So whether you're watching live right now or you're watching on replay, throughout this session, we're going to run audience polls. We're going to do trivia games. We're going to have a QA segment. We want your participation. So if you're online and you're watching, please make sure to go ahead and share in the comments. And if you're in the chats and comments and threads right now, please go ahead and put in the chat or the comments right now, I'm here, I'm here, I'm happy, I'm ready to learn. All right, guys, I'm here, I'm happy, I'm ready to learn. So that's the interactive elements. If you are experiencing technical issues throughout the show today, that's okay. Don't worry. We're going to have this on replay for you. It will be sent back to you. Your participation on replay is every bit as critical as it is during the live event. So if something happens or you got to leave for part of the show, you can get all of that information. Again, check your social medias. This will be on YouTube, LinkedIn. It's also going to be on Facebook. You can catch it on a number of the different speakers' Facebooks and different channels like that. So that'll be part of the technical issues. And by the end of the day, you'll have gained some practical insights and strategies to secure and enhance your financial future. So we've got some also exciting giveaways throughout the show. Please, if you're attending live, stay tuned, participate, and enjoy the whole program. I'm also encourage you to take this opportunity to network with your fellow attendees. I highly encourage you to share your profile, share links to social medias, share your ways for other people to connect with you in the comments. When you do that, that makes it even better because you can work and get to meet different people as we interact socially online. So those are the different things that I've got for you today. That's the story. That's the lineup. Let's get into the game for today. This is the Online Wealth Summit, your game plan to a secure future. I've got some questions for you before we dive too deep into the summit today. The first question that I'd have for you is, what do you want from the event today? Think about it for a second and put it in the chat. What do you want from the event today? Is there something you specifically want one of these 6 speakers to talk about and share with you? How about this? What's important to you about your money? And do you have a household budget? These things are critical as we walk through the programming today. I really want you to start getting your mind around this whole concept to a secure future. What about the goals you have for yourself? Have you sat down and written out your financial goals? If you don't have financial goals, how do you expect anybody to be able to help you and help you ensure that you have the secure future that you're looking for? What's your first money memory? I'm going to take you back for a quick second before I can even get too far into the show today and tell you about something from my childhood. So when I was little, for Christmas, My grandmother and grandfather got me this potted plant. It was a tree. And inside this potted plant, this tree, there was little dollar bills tied as leaves to each one of the sticks. My grandparents literally got me a money tree for Christmas one year. And I remember unrolling each one of the ribbons and trying to identify what the different values of the bill sizes were. Was it a $1 bill? Was it a $5 bill? There was even a couple $100 bills in there. And it was a reminder to me that money doesn't actually grow on trees. Now, with that said, it's okay that money doesn't grow on trees, but it's important to know how money grows. It's important to understand what to do with money. It's important to understand ways to protect that money. Because one of the things that you'll learn, and a common theme that I think you'll hear throughout this entire presentation today, that it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep and how much money you can keep over the long term and get that money to work for you. And I'm sure a lot of the speakers will have a lot to say about that and share about that as we go throughout the show today. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't take a second and thank Web Insurance and St. Charles Financial for sponsoring and putting this show together for you. And if you want to know how to get in contact with St. Charles Financial Web Insurance, they actually have some attendance prizes for you guys. And if you don't even want to watch the entire presentation today, I understand that. The 3 attendance prizes that we promised are right here online. So the first one is your scorecard to a secure future. If you want to know how are you doing financially, get a good current score from our organization, go to webinsurance.com/scorecard. That will cover all the topics from a lot of the speakers today and help you ensure that you have your game plan set up for a secure future. The second place you can go is to webinsurance.com/planner. This is a $1,500 value. This is the packet of information that we give our private clients at St. Charles Financial and Web Insurance to help them plan out their finances and organize their finances for their secure future. And then lastly, let's say that you're needing a little help. You can go to webinsurance.com/schedule. That's web with 2 B's.com/schedule. And when you go to webinsurance.com/schedule, you can meet with somebody from the organization that will help walk you through your scorecard, your planner, and ultimately what you can do in order to ensure a secure future. So I want to take a second and make sure that I talk a little bit about our first 2 guests. They are incredible. You're not going to want to miss this interactive information. Jerry is a registered financial consultant. For over 2 decades, he's provided ethical and professional financial services for his clients. He shares his experience and knowledge to build financial strategies. He uses a team approach to create the appropriate income solutions, securities, insurance plans that will fulfill his clients' financial needs from present through retirement by building a long-term partnership with his clients. Now, Jerry has developed a program to assist veterans and their families in securing aid and attendance benefits to pay their healthcare costs. He's also the director of the Senior Service Resources in St. Charles, the alliance that's formal organization of ethical, highly competent, trustworthy individuals who specialize in providing financial services for seniors and their family. You can get most of this information today about the Senior Service Resource if you have more information from our program. A lot of the members are participating in this online Your Game Plan to Secure Future. Jordan Tobin is seasoned in understanding the analytical professional who will work with you through every detail without judgment to make sure your benefits and financial opportunities work their best for your lifestyle and desires, and informed money decisions are the best decisions. Integrating planning strategies, his organization has been successfully guiding clients like you for nearly 60 years. One call with Jordan, and you will instantly see why people from all walks of life and all stages of their career depend on his wisdom and ability to guide their plans for a fulfilling, solid financial future. Jordan will give you a plain talk about your money and your choices, no particular bias of specific company recommendations. I'd like to welcome to the show Jerry and Jordan. Hi, guys. How are you?
Good morning, Nathan.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to have you two on the show. I know, Jerry, you actually do a show on KWRE, and that show is a senior service resource show. Before we go too far into today's topic, you want to share a little bit about that radio program that you do?
Sure. It's two programs every single month. Your first program is the Senior Service Resource, and as you were saying before, that's a group of professionals that provide advice, resource, and solutions to senior issues. It's not just all financial. It's all about your health, all about the things that you're concerned and get frustrated with, and someone to talk to that will listen to what you're saying so that they can help you. That's what it's all about. It's not about us, it's always about you, taking care of you. I'm also a certified senior advisor, and I took that course years and years and years ago. And that's all about learning even the simple things. What is senior talk? Because sometimes seniors talk differently when they're trying to address something. You've got to be listening very carefully to make sure that you hear what they're saying so that you can answer them and give them the right information.
Absolutely. And Jerry, I want to make sure that I get a conversation started too with Jordan. Jordan, now you've been doing financial services for a while now. Can you explain kind of everybody a little bit more about your background and the strategies that you use?
Well, my father started our firm 60 years ago, and 10 years ago I took it over. I actually, an architect by training, had an architectural firm for a number of years, and then Dad came to me and said, "You're taking over my business." And so I made a change. But what's interesting was my design process in the architectural field exactly the same as this field. Just I'm changing the question, so it's an easy, very easy transition to make. And we've been able to help people in a different form since we made the switch, and we've been very successful in the last few years. And Jerry and I recently have teamed up to open up to be able to get our services to more people.
Yeah, thank you, Jordan, for that. I sincerely appreciate it. Okay, so I know, Jerry, the cost of long term care is reaching epic heights. And when people are starting to plan for long term care, they should begin planning at an early age that can help them avoid these major wealth transfers of long term care. Can you share a little bit of information to help us understand this awful cost of long term care that's coming up?
Talk about that. Um, I've been looking at long term care now for probably 35 years that I've been in the industry. And the cost of long term care has become, as you say, monumental. It's getting out of hand. In reality, the average middle class person today is not going to be able to pay for long term care. And when I say that, you're talking in terms of for in home assisted care, you're talking about $4,000 to $5,000 a month. You're talking about skilled care in a community where you're talking anywhere from eight, nine, 10,000, all the way up to 12,000 for skilled memory care. So it's anywhere from 4,000 all the way up to $12,000 a month. That will eat up everything you've worked so hard for and take that away from you. So you have to sit down and you have to think about it. How are we going to afford long term care? Well, there's five ways to pay for long term care. One, out of pocket. But everybody knows that if you're paying out of pocket, that's dollar for dollar. Okay? And probably, that's, as I said, that's probably not going to work for most people. So then the next step, as you said, planning from early on would be long term care insurance, a policy that takes care of the costs of long term care. There's another way also, and people have started to use that. It's not as out to the public as we'd like it to be, but it is being used. It's called reverse mortgages. That's where you use the equity in your home to pay for the care that you need. And then the next one is something called hybrid insurance. That can be life insurance with a rider to pay for chronic illness long term care. It could be an annuity. That's becoming a more and more popular way to do it. And of course, there's the next step. And I kind of like to tell a little story to lead into that next step. When you turn 65, what's the first thing that you get? Anybody got an answer? It's called Medicare. You get your Medicare, they take care of your health. They take care of your health. They take care of your costs. It's a real blessing. Okay? Then when you turn 66, what do you get? Well, you get that check that goes into your bank account and you've got additional monies coming in. But you know, all of a sudden, that scary, terrible thing that jumps out at you may cause you to have a health situation or a memory situation where you need care and maybe you don't have the money. Well, you got your Medicare, you got your Social Security, but there's another benefit, another government benefit that's provided for you. And that's where Medicaid steps in, because Medicaid will pay for your long-term care. But we've got a guest on that's coming on later, Ray. He's one of our senior service, our attorneys. Ray will tell you you have to do the proper estate planning. Everything has to be in the proper working order, and there's a look back period of 5 years till you can trigger this. So the bottom line is, it's becoming exponentially just terribly expensive that the average person's not going to be able to afford it. So you have to do the planning. You have to sit down and talk about this. You have to get to the point where you realize, how am I going to pay for this? Because 70% of all of us are going to need some form of long-term care. So that
Yeah,
could be.
and that definitely brings me to the point that I'd like to ask Jordan about. Jordan, you had mentioned to me at one point that 7 out of 10 people will require long-term care at some point. That statistic seems a little alarming.
Oh, it is quite alarming. Most people think that they are indestructible and nothing's going to happen to them. And but it's been over the years, Medicare has done this survey and found out that 70% of us over the age of 70 will need something. And many times the clients think they have this great house, they paid it off, and the reverse mortgage is a wonderful tool because it creates a line of credit that's tax free, and they can use it as they want. Because I had a client the other day. We're talking and couldn't the money for actually buying a long term care policy, but by setting up the reverse mortgage, he said, "Well, it's great. House paid." But I said, you can't eat drywall, you can't eat carpeting." So this provided him that bridge until he got to be able to the 5 year and 1 day look back to be able to qualify for Medicaid. So that is one of the tools that are generally most neglected and most ridiculed. But we have a great partner in this who takes over the actual application for that, Vintran, and it's been a great help and asset for our clients.
Yeah, that's awesome, Jordan. Now, Jerry, first of all, if you can qualify for the government to pay for your in-home care, skilled care community, or skilled memory care, then you probably should do so. How do you ensure that you qualify for those types of benefits?
Well, as Ray is exceedingly knowledgeable, he would tell you that it's all about doing the proper planning. Because depending upon how much income you have, depending upon how much you have saved, do you have a home? Is there a spouse? There's so many things that fit into the parameter that you have to figure out. That's why if you're going to plan for Medicaid, you're going to have to sit down with a senior attorney, someone who can explain this to you and help you to prepare and do the right things and have everything in the proper working order so that you will qualify. I've heard stories over and over and over where someone tries to do this themselves. It just doesn't happen. They make a mistake, they have to start over. So it's all about having the proper attorney that understands senior legal affairs and financial, and is able to help you get through the the crossing the T's, the dotting the I's, everything that needs to be done to do the proper estate planning so that you will qualify and you will get the Medicaid. Because I mean, I read another article last night, and it was talking about how many people have no idea what they're going to do about long-term care. You've got to take the time to sit down, talk to someone who is knowledgeable. Talk to Jordan, talk to me, talk to Ray about this, because it could destroy everything you've worked all your career for. When you're talking $5,000 a month, $7,500 a month, I mean, you're talking $6,000, $60,000. You're talking $90,000 a year to pay for long-term care. Not a lot of people have that kind of money available to them that they can use for their needs.
And one of it is 90% of people that we're meeting have no estate plan in place at all.
Zero, right.
And the sooner you start this, and I will recommend age 50 to get your plans put together and meet up with the attorney to properly plan, because it needs to be in place. Because other people also don't realize, oh, I'm indestructible, but he might die at 60. Then what happens to the family? How your estate transferred? So it's very important to start at an early age and not wait until the last minute.
Yeah, I mean, proper planning prevents, problems later on in your life. And so it's incredibly important that you guys get that plan taken care of early on. You know what your plan is, you know what you're going to do. And high cost of care creates immense financial strain. Jordan, what are some tools that somebody can utilize early on in their planning to help alleviate some of that financial strain?
Well, I think, as Jerry's mentioned before, is having the proper life insurance, long-term care, annuities built in, with the idea of providing yourself with protection for this. To pay long-term care out of your own dollars is not really a smart idea. It's better to shift some of that cost off to the insurance companies. But the most people just don't plan for it, and they have no idea what it costs. And so the best thing we can do for them is to tell them some stories of what has happened, and how expensive it is. And then they go, oh my gosh, what do I do? And that's when we can help them to really realize how to plan. But really, one of the best things, if they have no plan at all, is to set up that reverse mortgage starting at age 62, because then it at least gives them a line of credit that will never expire, never charge for it. If you don't use it, fine, but it allows you to have that tax-free access. And what that does is it allows you to have funds where you can bridge. Oh, I want to wait to take Social Security till age 70 because I get my bigger benefit. I can have that earlier fund out, which makes a great deal of difference, in their planning. But the bottom line is, and the other thing too, is most of our clients that we're meeting in all age groups have never made a monthly budget. And when we sit down with them, we go through the current budget and then the budget after they think what they're going to retire. They always think that their retirement thing will be cheaper, but never is. And that just really blows their mind when they actually put that down on paper. Those are the things I recommend to help in that area.
For sure. Now, Jerry, you can use solutions to potentially assist growing your wealth and paying for long-term care at the same time. How do you assist people with growing their wealth and paying for long-term care at the same time? It seems like a magic trick.
Well, it really is. And that's where a real good vehicle are what's called hybrids. Hybrids can be a combination of life insurance, which provides tax-free dollars for retirement. It can be an annuity, and both of these two products can have what's called a rider built into them, and it pays for chronic illness and long-term care. So it can be a real benefit when you sit down with someone and you get somebody to realize that there are tools that they can use that are excellent for saving, give them additional benefits, internal benefits, and give them a path to get to the point where I've got my savings set aside, I've got a safe, and we use the term safe money because that's money that we can avoid losses, and through the index programs of the index universal lives and through the fixed indexed annuities, those two programs provide potential interest gains from the market moving up. And they also have a zero floor, which means you avoid all losses. So it's a great opportunity using hybrids to help fund the expense of long-term care. Not only give you savings, give you additional benefits, but in the end, give you money to pay for long-term care. And I was going to say something else before that you brought up, Nathan, an extremely important point. This can be one of the largest wealth transfers in your entire life, where a tremendous amount of dollars that you worked so hard for to set aside for both you and your spouse, if you're blessed and you're both, still alive and you're trying to move forward, this can be one of the worst wealth transfers you could ever imagine when you look at how much it costs. So you have to sit down with people and you have to open the door and say, wait a minute, you need to understand what the costs are for long-term care. That's one. And number two, you have to understand how that's going to affect your later years. If you need long-term care, that's going to be that wealth transfer I mentioned. But there's something else that occurs. It's called an opportunity cost. It's the dollars, the growth dollars that got away that you could have kept invested, that would have been more money for you to enjoy the rest of your rest of your life together with your spouse. So it's always about as Jordan said, doing the planning early, getting everything on the table, talking about it. I know there's that old story of people spend more time planning for a vacation than they do planning for their entire future, their life. So we could be clear, Jordan and I, and when you talk, when you listen to Ryan later on in the discussion and Mike, the things that we're telling you need to be thought about today as soon as you can. Because if the estate planning is done correctly, if the financial planning is done correctly, you put yourself in a position to make sure that the rest of your life is as comfortable, safe, and secure as it can possibly be.
That's awesome, Jerry. I'd appreciate if you two would hang on for just 1 second. And what I'd like to do is, with everybody in the audience that's watching online, I'd like you to participate. This is a participation interactive part of the programming today. Excuse me very much. I'm a little under the weather, but we're going to make it work all 4 hours today. Today in the audience participation, in the comment section, wherever you're watching, whether you're watching on the StreamYard link or whether you're watching online on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn, what I'd like you to do is you can answer questions by putting in the comments the letter A, B, C, or D. And so I'd like to run this interactive poll real quick. What is your primary financial goal for next year? Saving for retirement? Paying off debt? Investing in the stock market or other investments? Buying a home or making a significant purchase? Or are you planning for your estate and your legacy? Which one of these options are most important to you? If you're watching online, go ahead and throw it in the chat. and let's see what you guys are working towards with your finances for next year. As I go through the chat here, it looks like some answers are starting to come in, Jerry, and it looks like saving for retirement appears to be the primary driver for a lot of people right now. What would you say is your best tip for saving for retirement, Jerry?
Be consistent, be about your business, understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, what you're invested in, understand the tax benefits that you can use. There are hybrid programs where you can have tax benefits that you can put together into your planning. I just think that you need to take the time. You must take the time to do it correctly and to be consistent about
it. Take your time, do it correctly, be consistent about it. That's all great advice. Jordan, I'll let you go ahead and have the last word here, and then I'd like you and Jerry both to share how people can get in contact with you if they have questions about this. But what is your biggest tip on planning for saving for retirement, Jordan?
My biggest tip is to you get as much of your dollars into tax-free income as possible, because the country's at 31 trillion in debt and it's going up daily, and taxes will be going up. So the more money you can shift into permanent life insurance or using a Roth to have tax-free income is extremely important, because what it does, it also keeps your Social Security benefit intact. Most people don't realize that the government has put a means tax on Social Security, and this tax reduces their benefit, and any qualified fund like a 401k or a pension will cut their benefit down and move them into a higher tax bracket. So that is something that would be the most important thing to do.
That's incredible. And how can guys get in contact if people are watching online, they want to reach out to you? What's the best way for them to get in contact with you, Jerry, and then Jordan?
You can reach me. I'm at the other end of my cell phone almost 24 hours a day. You can call me at 314-323-9047. You can call into the office, 636-946-0001.
And Jordan, how about you? What's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Best way is to reach me on my cell phone, 314-489-4019.
Thank you guys very much, both of you, Jordan from Integrated Planning Strategies, Jerry from St. Charles Financial Services, for being a part of the show today.
Thanks for having us,
Thanks
Nathan.
for having us.
All right. That's it, guys. I mean, you heard from some of the best strategic minds when it comes to what your goals are today, which is planning for retirement. I don't know if you ever had this feeling. Remember, we're talking about your secure game plan, or your game plan for a secure future today. I don't know if you ever have this feeling whenever you're watching a baseball game. You're watching a baseball game and the person says touchdown. Come on, that's how I feel. All right. We've got an amazing next guest that's coming up for you. Our next guest is incredibly talented when it comes to dealing with aging in place at home. Like, if that's important to you, if you're trying to figure out how to age in place at home and to take control of your financial future, you're going to want to be a part of the conversation, this next guest. But I'd be remiss if I didn't take a second and thank our sponsors for today, our sponsors that help put this entire programming on for you, Web Insurance and St. Charles Financial. Let Web Insurance be your guide. And remember, they put together some attendance prizes for you guys today. Just like going to a baseball game, they put together this program. Are you ready to take control of your financial future but not sure where to start? Imagine having a clear, actionable, tailored plan to your financial needs, goals, and comfort level. Today, we're offering you 3 incredible tools as an attendance prize just for attending the live cast today. Let me tell you a quick story about, we'll call this guy John. John, like many of you, was unsure about his financial readiness. He had dreams of retiring comfortably, sending the kids to college, leaving a legacy for his family, but he didn't have a clear plan in order to make that dream a reality. So John decided to take the first step. He got our readiness scorecard. He was able to get his readiness in line to make sure that his finances were secure and he was ready for the future with his children, with his legacy, with all of the goals that he had. Then, empowered by this knowledge, John was able to take our planner, organize his finances. This is a $1,500 planner that we've put together for you guys with step-by-step ways to organize your finances around your future. Once he gathered everything, he was able to schedule an appointment with an advisor, and now John feels comfortable moving forward. Remember, the financial scorecard is a $25 value. This is an easy-to-use tool to assess your current financial situation and readiness. It's the first step in understanding where you are and what you need to do to achieve your financial goals. In order to get that scorecard, go to webinsurance.com/scorecard. Then we're also offering you a comprehensive financial planner. This is the same planner we use with all of our private clients. It's detailed. It provides you the step-by-step organizing frameworks that you need to cover your budget, your savings, investing, retirement, all of the things that you're looking for towards your future. If you want this comprehensive planner, go to webinsurance.com/planner. Again, it's a $1,500 value. And I can't put a value on sitting down and actually meeting with somebody from the organization that can help you ensure your secure future. If you want to schedule an appointment with somebody to talk to about these things, go to www.webinsurance.com/schedule. That's our free attendance prizes and our tools and resources we're providing for you just for attending for today's show. Now, let's talk about Linda Prio. Linda holds a degree in political science from Stevens College in Columbia and public administration from Maryville University in St. Louis. Over 20 years, Linda has been educating all ages and groups of people, formally and informally, as a guest speaker and teacher. At Hickory College, Linda educated high schoolers on interpersonal skills that would help them garner success in the future. She's a commitment to this education for you guys. From there, she moved into the medical field, educating seniors and their family as a community educator in her current role as an outreach manager at Continuum. Relying on training, observation, and practical experience, Linda helps families. She helps patients and social workers, medical personnel see through a wide range of needs of the senior and their family. So she's not only helping the senior, she's helping the family as a senior transition through levels of care. I would like to bring Linda Prio to the show. Linda, are you there?
I'm here.
There you are. Wow. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us. I know that you are enjoying family vacation, but you put this entire opportunity together even while you're on vacation. That shows your commitment to seniors.
Yes, it is something I'm really committed to. And Nathan, you may not know this, but I'm spending part of my time developing a podcast that also is helping people understand the importance of planning as they age and what the concept of aging in place is. So that is another way that I'm working to educate people from a broader perspective. But I do want to thank St. Charles Financial and Web Insurance for offering this amazing seminar. And yes, I'm on vacation and I've been in Washington, D.C. and then traveled over to Charlottesville where I toured Thomas Jefferson's home. And I just want you to know that our founding fathers thought that knowledge was very important. And knowledge was power. And from what you're going to hear from myself and from others that you've already heard from Jerry and Jordan is that knowledge is power, and it helps us to learn what we need to know so that we can formulate a plan. And the plan that I want to share more information about is how to age in place at home. I know that Jordan gave some statistics, but honestly, less than 20% of aging seniors will actually move into or need the highest level of care. Okay. So there are a lot of options out there for you as you age. In fact, you're probably driving by many options all the time: assisted living, independent living. But it is very likely that people will start the process of aging in place at home. It's not to say that you won't make another decision, but maybe the first decision will to see how you can age in place at home. So, the definition of aging in place is when a person decides to live and age, and I'm going to use the word safely, in their residence of choice for as long as they are able to. But people who want to age in place will also make reasonable adjustments as their care needs change. They will probably hire some help, and they will probably also hire additional help to maintain their property. Okay, so that it is sellable if needed in the future. So when you choose the aging in place model, you retain the quality of life that you are choosing for yourself. And it is possible, actually, to receive as much or as little care at home as you need, and then to hire the extra support that you need for home maintenance when those tasks become more difficult to do. What many people do is they coordinate the medical care that they need at home, which is already established through Medicare, but you're also able to access additional personal care services that you might need as you age. So here's the important point that Jerry and Jordan were throwing out, and I'm going to validate that point, is whatever you choose to do as you age, it is going to be coming from your pocket. These services are private pay. There are services available to those with lower income or who have not as many assets, but there will be a wealth transfer. It will be coming from your pocket. But this is why you saved, and this is why you planned, is so that you can choose.
Yeah, Linda. So I appreciate you being on talking about aging in place, because aging in place is something that's always been important and impactful for my family. I know that my grandmother and grandfather wanted to be in their home as long as they physically could. I've got a current grandmother that is still living. She's 85 years old, still living at home, independent, on her own, able to do a lot of these things on her own. How do you determine if somebody's starting to need help to age in place, and how do you select the right providers and care?
Yeah, I mean, that's really important. I think multiple hospitalizations are a big clue that something's not going right at home, either from a health perspective or maybe in lifestyle choices. So obviously, multiple hospitalizations, increased medications. When you're going to the home to visit, what does it look like? Are they on top of the situation, or are you starting to see a pattern that really is not their norm? And has there been a lot of loss of weight? Sometimes just losing weight rapidly for a senior can really indicate that something's not going well. Either it could be a disease process, or it could be that they're simply forgetting to eat. So there are some telltale signs, but sometimes you don't want to make a leap. You've heard the expression, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And so that is where you want to start looking for a company that can offer a platform where we can come in and assess and evaluate what's going on, listen to the financial picture, what they can afford, what they can't afford, but also being honest and doing third-party assessments so that we have a clear idea of what is going on with your health and how successfully you're being able to live at home. So I work for Continuum Private Duty Home Care and our family of services. And to all the clients, we offer a free, no obligation visit so that we can come in and have a conversation. And that's really what it's going to be. Questions are asked, we're able to answer, we're able to provide additional care coordination when that might be requested by the family, because there are so many parts and pieces that need to be put together. But we can help people recover from a health crisis. We can even help offer ongoing support, such as dressing and grooming, toileting, bathing, maybe some light housekeeping can be offered, putting a meal together, transportation to appointments. But to come in and to offer a program that is acceptable to the pocketbook and to the health needs that are going on at that point. These services that people are going to get are always, you're able to end them. You're not committed for long term. So they usually come with a 24-hour cancellation policy attached to them. And so many times clients begin with a very small number of hours of care, maybe 4 to 8 hours a week. They might slide up and have more care if they're in a health crisis, slide back down when they're feeling better, or as their health care needs have really started to change for long term, then they might keep care services in home. So definitely a company that is experienced, somebody that can offer those third-party assessments and then offer additional case management is a very good way to secure quality care.
Now, Linda, I'd like to talk a little bit about just dementia in general. It's a rough topic. I used to work in the hearing industry, and I know that hearing loss leads to being 5 times more likely developing cognitive issues. So it's an early sign that you might want to get your hearing checked so that you don't have cognitive issues. However, outside of that, what are some ways that families can start to pay attention to understand that dementia and have those conversations? That's a tough conversation to have with somebody like, hey, we need to get you more care because you might have a cognitive issue.
Yeah, it's all the approach. But when we have discovered that somebody does have some dementia, they might not be the person who would agree that they have dementia. And so having that conversation with somebody who doesn't acknowledge that there's a problem can be difficult. Ray is our legal expert on our senior services resource, and of course, consulting with an attorney to make sure that you have the proper power of attorney documents in place at a time when a person isn't so far gone in their memory that they can't make those decisions. So ways we recognize that again is what's going on in the home. What are we beginning to see? Is the parent living like they've always lived or not? Are they forgetting to pay bills? Are they repeating stories and over again? Don't take that as a solid thing, because sometimes I do that as well. But repetitive. So we find that when we're having conversations with people, and it's just simple conversations, where do you live? What's your address? What did you do yesterday? We begin to determine levels of cognition. And when we're in a home environment and having those conversations, sometimes they can really fake it. But if you're in there for long enough, maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes, those stories, they start repeating their stories again. So those are good indicators of what we're beginning to see. I am a firm believer in stimulation and appropriate stimulation and oversight for the caregivers of somebody who have dementia. So while we value care in the home, I just want you to understand that the adult day programs that are available now in many neighborhoods and communities are wonderful programs. It's a great first step to helping someone get the cognitive stimulation they need so that their dementia doesn't just take a downward slide. We see with the right stimulation, with the right prevention, that people can do quite well, and they can actually live at home for quite a long time.
That's incredible. I mean, that's so important that people are able to identify it, understand it, have those conversations as a family, have the proper estate plans in place, and be able to work with specialists like you that can understand, is this person capable of aging at home? Is this something where we maybe need a little bit more support? Those things are incredibly important. And when should somebody contact a specialist like you? How do they know that now's the time I need to reach out to Linda?
Yes, I would say sooner is better than later. It never hurts to just make an introductory phone call and just find out what some of the pricing is going to look like. Generally, there's always indicators along the way. You know, obviously we understand that life happens. It definitely happens. We know that. We can still work with that, even when life happens and you're thrown a curveball. But like the people who are participating today are going to hear that advanced planning is important because we can help you navigate this with your loved one. And so many of our first phone calls are either from aging spouses or they're from family members who have been delegated this responsibility of figuring out what to do next. And so we're able to meet with the client, the future client, potential client for where they are right now, and then to sort of lay out what plan A might look like. And if plan A doesn't seem like it's going to work in a week from now we have to move to plan B. But because we have done this successfully over the last 20 something years, we know where to begin and how to guide people. So I would say that sooner is better than later. But definitely, if you find yourself in that curveball situation with a health crisis, don't hesitate to call because there are options and you want to get good advice. And that's where the knowledge piece comes in.
I mean, Linda, what you're really talking about is just having a game plan, right?
Absolutely.
Knowing what's going to happen before it happens. You can't go into a baseball game and just wing it and win the game. Just like you can't go into a baseball game and wing it and win the game. You can't go into planning for your future, whether it's your health, whether it's where you're going to live, or whether it's your finances. You can't just wing it. Is there any stories of people that have gotten to you that have wung it too long?
Well, I just want to say, as a person who works in this space and helps people navigate in this space, I was also a caregiver for aging parents. And I can tell you that you don't get the straight path. You have to figure this out. So to think that an ordinary person is going to be able to navigate all this, not really likely, unless it's really very simple. When things get complicated, that's when you're going to need your team of professionals. So as you know, I'm traveling. So I was kind of working on my presentation for today, and I was sitting in the lobby and I could just tell that the conversation was, it was adult children discussing what and how they were going to take care of their loved one and just not even knowing the situation. What I heard was the loudest voice in the room. And so that loudest voice was going to share their opinion over and over and over again. And then the softest voice in the room didn't even speak. And then another person was offering a dissenting opinion. And so how are you going to make a decision in that kind of environment? And if you don't know the facts, that's going to really make it challenging. So anytime you have multiple opinions, not based on fact, not knowing what the actual score is, to follow our metaphor for today, you're going to wing it in the wrong direction. And so we get calls from people who will say to us, we wish we would have listened to you guys. We wish that we would have followed your guidance because now my parent has been in the hospital 2 more times. Now we're looking at more care. Our options are less. So this is unfortunately what happens.
And this is why it's so critical that if you have aging parents, you're a caretaker, you have a situation that's going on, you get in contact with Linda, because you also need to learn the process for yourself so you can have those conversations with your family about who to get in contact with, where to go, put it in your book. Heck, maybe it's in your planner that you got from Web Insurance on today's call to make sure that you have everything documented that you need as you go into your future. So Linda, I want you to hang on because we've got an incredible interactive part of the show today. We're going to do some baseball trivia. And I know we were talking a little bit ahead of the show that you might not be the best person for baseball trivia. However, we do have some people online that are watching, and maybe they can help share some of their answers with Linda for what we're doing today, which is baseball trivia. So, Linda, we've got about a couple of questions here that I want to bring up for baseball trivia with you. So the first question, remember, you guys just put it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. First question for you is, who was the first major league player to hit a home run? Babe Ruth, Mark Griffin, Hank Aaron, or Ty Cobb? What do you guys think? Who was the first person? Put it in line on the chat. A, B, C, or D? We got a lot of people that are saying B, Linda.
Oh,
Mike Griffin. What do you think?
A lot of people are saying Mike Griffin.
Yeah.
I don't know. Should I go with that?
What do you think? What do you want to do? A, B, C, or D?
Well, I'll say Ty Cobb. I'll say D.
D. All right. And the correct answer is Mike Griffin. All right.
Listen to your experts.
What do they say on the baseball game? They do like the wah, 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 wah.
Yeah.
All right. How many home runs did Barry Bonds hit? So is that 762, 625, 955, or 1,250? What do you think? How many home runs did Babe Ruth hit? It looks like people online are saying, well, no, now it's adjusted. All right, 762 is what they're saying online. What do you think? 762, 625, 955, or 1,250?
A. 762.
762, and that is correct. Ding, ding, ding. I gotta have like sound effects next time. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Next, I put in too many of these baseball trivia questions, so we're gonna be here a second. So, who was the first baseball player to hit a grand slam? So, was it A, Barry Bonds, B, Jackie Robinson, C, Ross Barnes, or D, Roger Corner? What do you think? What do you think? It looks like online they're sharing their comments. It looks like a lot of people are saying Roger Corner. I don't even know who that is.
I don't either, but if they're the experts, then I'm going to trust their advice. So I'll go with D.
Wow, she's listening to the experts today, guys, and she got it correct. Roger Corner is correct. He was the first person to hit a grand slam in National League Baseball. All right. Next question. What year was the first World Series in baseball? A, 1876, B, 1899, C, 1903, or D, 1921? I should have like, you know how in the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, they had like the little bar that went across and like how much money you've made so far?
Oh, yeah.
It's not that kind of game, Linda. All right. So what year do you think the first World Series in baseball was? 1876, 1899, 1903, 1921. It looks like the group online is saying C, but it's totally up to you. 1903 is what they're saying.
Oh, boy. That's a long way back. That's before the St. Louis World's Fair.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. C,
C.
1903.
That's it. That was correct. Ding, ding, ding. You are a winner. All right.
Thank you, experts.
Yeah, the experts know what they're doing. We are talking with Linda Prio, and guys, we were learning today all about aging in place at home, understanding dementia care. She's an expert at this stuff. Maybe not baseball trivia, but she looks like she's doing a pretty good job here. All right. Where is the National Baseball Hall of Fame located? St. Louis, Cooperstown, Louisville, or Little Falls, New Jersey?
B.
Cooperstown, and she knew that one, so that was correct. Nailed it. All right, guys, put it online. Put in the chat what you think the answer to the baseball trivia is. Who was the first major league player in history to have his number retired? Lou Gehrig, Nolan Ryan, Page, Satchel Paige, and Willie Mays. I should know all these people, but I don't. So let's see. What'd you say?
I think I said D, but could have been C. I don't know. I'm going to say D. Willie Mays.
All right. She got a little confident on the Baseball Hall of Fame. Lou Gehrig was the first National Baseball League player to have his number retired. Remember, we're talking all about your game plan for a secure future, and we're having a little bit of fun with Linda Prio. All right. Albert Pujols is best known for setting what record? Winning a Gold Glove, most home runs in a season, the Cy Young Award, or Rookie of the Year. Cardinals' first baseman, Albert Pujols, and became a DH. Most home
runs in a season, B.
Yeah, most home runs in a season. That would be correct. That was the answer everybody was given online. All right, so I want to say thank you, Linda, for playing the baseball trivia with us. That's been incredible. I appreciate you joining the show today. How can people get in contact with you if they have family members that are aging in place and they need some help?
Well, you can, if you're a podcast person, you can always go to my podcast, which is on every podcast platform. Remember, that's an audio platform, not video. And that would be Aging in Place, Strategies and Answers. And I also work for Continuum, and you can reach me at my email address, which is linda@continuumcare.com, or 314-863-9912. And thanks for having me today. Thank you for everybody attending. Stay tuned. You're going to learn a ton today.
Thanks, Linda. Thanks for joining us on the show. All right, guys. Let Web Insurance be your guide. Let St. Charles Financial be your guide. They are our sponsors of the show today. You can head on over to www.webinsurance.com/scorecard. If you want to get your scorecard based upon all the speakers today, we have developed a scorecard to identify your security towards your future. This will give you an overall score that will better help you understand how you're doing. And then we have the Web Insurance Planner. This is the tool, the internal tool that we use with all of our private clients. Go to webinsurance.com/planner. Get a free $1,500 planner tool. This will help you organize all of your finances all in one spot. There's an entire comprehensive packet. It's got brochures. It's got all kinds of stuff that comes with it. Go to webinsurance.com/planner. And then lastly, go to webinsurance.com/schedule if you'd like to take time to talk with somebody and have a consultation about these items. You need some help, go to webinsurance.com/schedule and you will be able to meet with somebody from the team. All right. Man, guys, we've been going over an hour today. You guys mind if I take a drink? I know I'm a little under the weather, but we're making it happen. We're going 4 full hours today, guys. 4 hours. We're talking all about your financial future, and you're not going to want to miss the next guest. I know that each one of these guests have a specialty and a niche, but we are so blessed to have an attorney with us. Excuse me. This attorney is an expert in estate law and estate planning. Raymond Chandler turned his focus to estate planning after having seen his own extended family become involved in a nasty fight over property upon death with a loved one. It's so sad. He witnessed firsthand a family being torn apart simply because of a lack of planning ahead. He has made it his goal to educate families on the importance of estate planning, especially to avoid family fights and feuds after a loved one dies. Raymond has always preferred acting as the counselor at law versus an attorney at law. He feels his role is to take the complexities out of law and explain them in an easy to understandable terms, plain English, which you guys are going to get today, using analogies and stories to help his clients and their families realize all of the options and decisions they're facing, explaining the documents he uses to create a robust estate plan so families understand them better, is the most important aspect of his work. I'd like to welcome to the stage Mr. Raymond Chandler. Ray, thanks for joining us. You're on mute here. Let's pull it up. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me today, Nathan. Appreciate it.
We'll get it right. All right. Appreciate you taking your time. I know that getting an attorney to sit down and have conversations to educate the community is, it's been a difficult aspect for me over my career. Attorneys are typically busy. They have a lot of things going on. Most attorneys are very introverted from my understanding and from my interactions with them. They're not very extroverted and educationally based. Some of them are. You're incredibly different, though, because you spend time with people on shows like Senior Service Resource Show and this show today, educating the community about estate planning. Why is that so important and impactful for you?
Well, what I've seen is probably the biggest lack of knowledge out there in the estate planning world is just not knowing what's there, not knowing what the issues are, and not having that knowledge. I could sit back here all day and play with the documents and play with the language and play with the legal side of things, but that doesn't help people. Helping people is about educating them and letting them know what the issues are, what the problems are, what they're facing, how to fix those, how to meet their goals and things like that. And so if we're not out there educating the public, I don't feel what I'm doing in my job. And that's really my job, is to educate the public so that they get the estate plan to make sure their families are protected.
So you're going to have people just watching this show, and I don't want you guys to tune out, because I'm going to ask a question right now specifically for you guys that would tune out about an attorney and estate plan. I don't have that much. Why do I need an estate plan?
Yeah, so we get that question a lot. And first, everybody has an estate of some kind, all the way down to just a car. Is an estate. So you may not be super rich, you may not have farmland and things like that and lots of money, but you have an estate of some kind, because quite honestly, some of the problems we've seen the most is when it's just a car, just a bank account, just a home that we've got to go through probate. And so those little things, in the grand scheme of things, when I don't have an estate, you have something that could cause a problem if it's not planned for. And then the flip side of that is also understanding that estate planning is not just about death and probate and property. Estate planning really also is about you during your lifetime. How are we going to help there? Because what most people don't understand is you can actually end up in the probate court while you're alive if you don't plan for certain situations. And so there's situations such as, Jerry talked about disability, and Linda talked about that, when you can't make decisions for your own self anymore. That's part of estate planning, is having those people in place, having powers of attorney for financial decisions, powers of attorney for legal decisions, making sure we have those decisions in place ahead of time so that somebody can help take care of you if you can't. And if you don't have that, even while you're alive, you're going to end up in probate court. And then beyond the financial and legal side is going to be healthcare decisions. So if you don't want to be hooked up to the machines forever, then you've got to have an estate plan laid out that shows that as your wishes, because without that, you're really not going to, your family's not going to be able to manage your care, manage you, manage your life, even beyond just, making sure your property passes where you want it to go.
Yeah. And one of the challenges that a lot of people run into is estates being eaten up by creditors, predators, and they're not protecting their beneficiaries. Can you share a little bit about, stories and things that you've seen in the past with this exact situation?
Yeah. So what we see a lot of times, and the studies show that regardless of the size of the estate, most inheritances are gone within 18 months. And they're eaten up in a variety of different ways. You've got children that just don't spend the money wisely. We always have that issue. But there's also the kind of outside world type things that interfere with inheritances. So divorces, lawsuits, creditors, predators. We call that cousin you never heard of that now needs a loan or something like that when mom and dad passed away. We have all these other types of outside world type things that are eating up that estate from people when we leave it behind for our kids. And so what most people don't understand is there is actually a way to leave behind your estate, to leave it to your children, leave it to your beneficiaries in a way that protects against that outside world, that it's there for their use and they can have it and use it to take care of themselves and pay their mortgage and buy their groceries and go on vacation, anything they need. But if they get sued, if they get in a divorce, if they get something where someone else is trying to take their money away from them, that their inheritance can be protected away from something like that. And so with proper planning, we can put those protections in and make sure that it's all taken care of.
So a lot of my audience online, Ray, that watch on a regular basis are real estate investors. I have a live cast they do every Friday, and a lot of real estate investors join that show. When I have a complex estate, like multiple pieces of real estate, multiple assets and accounts, are there strategies, tools, and techniques to protect people from life, like current taxes and situations that they could face, and help them kind of offset some of that stuff? Or is it all focused specifically after you pass for estate planning?
No, like I said, a lot of estate planning is focused on the here and now. And so positioning your assets in the right way, creating correct ownership over those assets, especially when you're talking about real estate investors, you're talking about making sure we have liability protection. So is it set up in the right liability product position so that it's not going to cause personal liability? Are we setting it up to, in an LLC, something of that nature, which is still part of estate planning in a way? It's also business planning. Are we setting up, we have what we call qualified spousal trust now in Missouri, where we can, protect some of those assets away during the lifetime. And there's all sorts of different ways to protect and do things, even during your lifetime, especially with investments and things like that, to make sure it's positioned correctly. And going back to the, do we need an estate? Am I big enough for that type of planning? the one thing we run into a lot is, well, what's a trust? And then you get into the problem that we just kind of brought up is every trust is your instruction manual for your life, but it's different for every single person. And we talk about the alphabet soup of trust. When you're talking about big type of trust, there's all sorts of different little acronyms we throw on everything, all the way down to a living trust for most people. So there's lots of different ways to plan an estate depending on what the goal is. And that's what it's all about, is what is your goal? What are you trying to accomplish for your family? Does your estate plan do that for you?
Yeah, it's super beneficial. It's not only important for your assets for this estate planning that we have found just as a team here. It's also important to understand the overwhelming costs of long-term care and aging in place in a nursing home and these healthcare costs. What are some ways that trusts and estate planning help to protect that aspect as people age and they get towards the end of their life?
Yeah. So like was already brought up, about 70% of us are going to end up in long-term care. Long-term care, the average cost right now is about $8,000 to $10,000 a month. So we've got $8,000 to $10,000 a month. We've got to find a way to pay for. And there's a variety, like Jerry said, there's a variety of different ways to pay for that. Most of it's going to be out of pocket, losing your assets, losing your property, having that taken away from you and your family, because you have to, find out how to pay for that $8,000 to $10,000 bill every month. So what was, as mentioned before, there is a government program that we can use to pay for that, and that's called Medicaid. And what Medicaid is a program to help pay for room and board. So it pays for your living, and it pays for your food, and it pays for your care at the 24-hour nursing level. It's not Medicare, which pays for your doctor's visits and things like that. It's Medicaid. And so what we look at is, can we qualify for that benefit to be able to take care of those costs? And that's the thing, is you have to qualify for that benefit. So, you get Medicare and Social Security are benefits that you get, based on age and time and things of that nature. But Medicaid has to be qualified for. And so to qualify for Medicaid, you have to have a certain level of assets, a very low level of assets. And so Medicaid will look at all of your property and see what you have and see if you qualify. So the way to look at that is to plan ahead, well ahead of time, to make sure that you've got your property positioned correctly so that you can qualify for Medicaid if you need it. And one of the big issues with that is what's called the 5-year look back. And so when you apply for Medicaid and you go in and say, okay, Medicaid, I need you to take care of this bill for me, they're going to look at what's called the 5-year look back. For the last 5 years, what have you given away from your estate? What property have you given away? So if you just gave your house to your kids, so we hear that all the time, I'm just going to give my house to my kids and that'll be taken care of. Well, when did you do that? Did you do that correctly? How was it done? I'm just going to give away my investment account to whoever. Well, did you do it correctly? How was that done? And so a lot of times we have to look at that and make sure we're doing that correctly and hitting that time frame correctly.
Yeah, 5 years, Raymond. That's 5 years. It's crazy.
Yeah. So the biggest problem with that is when is your time? When is it time to go into the nursing home? I have no clue. And if I could predict dates of going into the nursing home or predict when you're going to pass away, I'd be a whole lot better at my job. But unfortunately, we can't predict those times, can't predict those dates. So it's really, you've got to plan ahead and make sure you're there ready to go when that time comes. And a lot of times what we'll use is a Medicaid asset protection trust to position your property in the right way to qualify for Medicaid if we need it. Now, the great thing about that planning, though, is you don't have to use it. So we can position everything, get you ready to qualify, get you set up and going, and then maybe it's not the right choice at that time. Or maybe it hasn't been 5 years and we have to wait a little bit. Maybe there's something there. So with a good comprehensive plan, we can sit down well ahead of time and plan out, how are we going to do this? How are we going to pay for this? What is the plan to do it? And so that's really what the estate planning, elder law side of estate planning is really setting up a plan to say, okay, do we have the long-term care? Good. Do we have this in place? Good. What else do we need to put over here? Where are we going to go? What is the time frame we're looking at? And just laying it all out and having that plan put together.
Yeah. And guys, remember, the choice of an attorney is not to be done based upon this advertisement or this program. We want to make sure that when you select an attorney, you select the right attorney for you. This is just to help introduce you to Raymond, have a better understanding of his programs and things that he can do to help you. Raymond, when somebody is selecting an attorney, though, there's a number of different things that they've got to make decisions around. One of those things is you got to know, like, and trust the attorney, right? The second thing, though, is how does somebody, like, there's a lot of different attorneys to select from, but you specialize in this elder care law play. So that makes a big difference when selecting attorney. Are there any other things to consider when selecting attorneys or when somebody's trying to make the decision on who they should reach out to or contact?
Yeah, so you've got to find someone who knows that area of law. We don't, I used to be a general practitioner where I knew a little bit about everything. That wasn't a good way to plan for people. It's getting someone who actually knows this area of law, and that's what they do. And that's all we do here is estate planning and elder law. That's it. Can't help you with traffic ticket. Can't help you with a court case. Can't help you with any of that because this is all we do at my firm here. Finding someone who knows that planning, knows that area, and is expert enough in that area. And then you get to the know, like, trust part. Are they going to take the time to talk to you? Are they going to take the time to really dig into your plan? Are they going to take the time to really ask you about your goals? A lot of times, unfortunately, you're going to get a lot of, who do you want to leave your stuff to when you pass away? Great. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. I'll have the documents typed up. There's a lot more to it than that. And are we going to take the time to go through that? And then on the backside, what is their process to help you after the documents? So one of the biggest mistakes we see in estate planning is, and in elder law, even worse, is a family creates the trust, creates the estate plan, has all the documents, and here's the documents. The attorney's done. I've done my job. You have everything. Have a nice day. And then they forget that that plan doesn't work at all unless all the property is tied to it. So I can type up the trust to say anything I want and make it work perfectly. But if I don't actually put my property into the trust or tie it to the trust, it's called funding a trust. If I don't do that, it doesn't work at all. And there's a lot of attorneys that don't have that process in place to be able to help. So you want to make sure that you know how much of that planning they're going to do with you, for you, together, whatever that looks like, to make sure your plan is fully in place. And then then it comes down to, are you willing to sit in a room with them for 2 hours, 4 hours, however long it takes to get the job done? So that there's a little bit of, you just have to like them as a person too. So
yeah, which is really beneficial if you sit down with somebody from our St. Charles Financial Web Insurance and have them look over everything so that you have it all documented in one of our planners that you can get online today for absolutely free. So that's why we put this whole program together, was for you guys today. We're speaking with Raymond Chandler. We're talking about estate planning and estate elder law. He's an expert in elder law. Guys, do you like him? You now know him. You know what he's capable of handling, and that this is what he specifically does. And you just heard that there's a 5-year look back on some of the different programs that he could help set you up with. And so it's incredibly important that you get with an attorney sooner than later to get your estate plan done. So, Raymond, when somebody's thinking about estate planning, one of the things that comes to mind is, I'm going to be meeting with an attorney. This is going to be extremely expensive. It's going to cost me an arm and a leg. How do you typically deal with the concept of explaining to somebody cost? Because this isn't kind of a, it's an hour thing. It depends on how much time it takes and all that kind of stuff. So
another choice when you're coming to attorneys is, are you doing an hourly rate or a flat fee rate? So are you going to know what it costs you ahead of time? And so with us, it's always going to be a flat fee. You're going to know what it costs you before you sign anything, versus an hourly fee. Not sure how long it's going to take. So that's one thing to look into on the cost side. The other side of that is, think of this as the investment against other costs, as insurance against other costs. Elder law side, $8,000, $10,000 a month. How many months do we need to save to be able to just pay for the plan ahead of time? Plus, you already have a plan ahead of time. Yeah. What are we looking at? Probate costs and settlement costs and fees if the plan isn't set up ahead of time. Probate can be upwards of 5-7% of your estate sometimes, eating up things and eating it up in fees. And then just making sure that you have a plan in place. What is the cost? I mean, quite honestly, what is the cost of your family getting along? What are you willing to invest to make sure that your family doesn't hate each other at the end? And that's our biggest goal here is to make sure the families are not fighting, disputing, questioning, confused at the end of the day. We want to make sure the family is coherent and that we don't cause a problem by not having an estate plan in place. And that costs, there's no dollar sign on that to me. Like I said, that's why I'm here, because my family went through it. And then it's just simply the cost for each and every family individually, because your plan should be different, and your plan should have a different cost that should be tailored to you. So if it's the same cost as everybody else, then that's not really a unique plan to you.
I love that. And it's extremely important that people understand that, like you just said, if it's going to cost $8,000 to $10,000, it's not how much money you made over your lifetime. It's how much money you keep and that you can continue to invest. And so many people have this thought process when it comes to planning their finances around return on investment. Everybody's always looking for, what's the ROI? What is the ROI of saving thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars?
Yeah.
The ROI is infinite, because now you can invest that money. You can continue to hold on to that money, keep that money. So don't allow yourself to go to the end of your life and not have taken the time to plan towards your future. I mean, in line with today's theme, we're talking about, the baseball theme and having a game plan going into tomorrow, next week, next year. And you want to make sure that you have a game plan when it comes to the legal aspect of your life. You need to have end of life directives. You need to understand this estate law concept. So, Raymond, what are some last kind of things that people should think about? We've talked about a lot of different things. What are some last things that people should think about when it comes time to looking at your estate planning?
Mainly, number one, do it. You've got to have an estate plan in place. You've got to have one that covers all of your goals. And then what other goals do you have? So we all want to avoid probate. We know that, because probate's horrible and expensive and long and frustrating. But what else? What other goals do you have? Do you want to make sure your family is protected? You can actually make an estate plan that says, before my children receive their money, they have to have a financial plan with a financial planner. That might be something that you want to put into your plan, just to make sure they have an understanding of how things work. Do you have a team in place? That's the other thing, is not only the estate planning attorney, but does that estate planning attorney work with your team of advisors? So your estate planner, your financial, your insurance, your tax advisor, all of your advisors should be able to talk to each other and work as a team together to make sure your plan's working. And then just making sure that you're looking at your plan on a regular basis as well. So a lot of times we'll get how many do I need to update? When should I update? Things of that nature. The updating really should be on a very regular basis, 2 to 3 years tops, to at least have somebody take a look at your plan, take a look at what legal changes that you may not know have happened, and then see if there's anything on your family side that needs to change. See if there's anything on your asset side that needs to change. So we see trusts that were created, estate plans that were created 10, 15 years ago. And yeah, they put everything in there and everything was great, except we downsized the house and now we own a condo that's not connected. We switched investment accounts and now it's not connected. We switched banks and it's not connected. We sold that car and the new car is not connected. And it's not even a legal or life change, it's an asset change that affects the entire estate plan. And so now all those assets end up in probate because they weren't taken care of and updated and kept up to date, let alone all the legal changes that happen on a regular basis. So you got to keep that estate plan up to date, make sure that you're working with somebody who has a process to help you do that, and make sure that there's a process in place for that, and that your advisors and everybody's talking together to keep that up to date as well. And then just making sure that you're looking beyond avoiding probate, beyond just giving your money away. One of the biggest mistakes we see in estate planning is what we call lump sum distribution. So at the end of the day, just give my money to my kids. Would you today take your estate and give it to your kids with no instructions, no information, no why, no how, no nothing, and just give them the money and hope life works well? Unfortunately, that's what a lot of estate planning does, is just gives out money with no instructions, no protections, nothing, and just says, I hope it works. And we're not leaving any instructions behind. What we like to say a lot of times is what we call the babysitter story. I've got a young kid, she's not as young anymore, but I have a young kid who we went out, we'll go out on a date, and my wife's notorious for this. When we go see the babysitter, here's 4 pages of instructions. What could happen here? What could happen there? What if this happens? What if this happens? I'm like, we have cell phones. We're down the street. We're coming back in a couple hours. We'll be here. It's fine. It'll be okay. But let's leave all these instructions. And then families, when you're going to be gone for good, there's no cell phone. There's no way to contact you. You're not coming back to explain anything. You're not going to be there to help anymore. Families are leaving absolutely no instructions, absolutely no information, doing no planning for that whatsoever. I really think we should be leaving more instructions when we're gone for good than when we're gone on a date on a Friday night.
1,000%. I mean, I couldn't. This is why you're the expert, man. That's incredibly important, something that we all need to pay attention to and all get in line with the proper state plan. I can't tell you thank you enough. If you can hang on for a few more minutes, I do, in the theme of baseball, have a fun game and interactive with the audience I'd like you to participate with us in. You ever been to the baseball game when they do the 3 hats?
Yeah, that's always fun.
Let's see if we can get you to follow the ball and find the right where the ball is.
Where are they going to put it? All right. I'm going to have to go with 3, but
I'm 1, 2, or 3 guys online. Help them out.
3, but I'm not very confident.
He thinks it's 3. What do you guys think online? 1, 2, or 3? Let's see what he says. All right, let's see. What? Oh my gosh, it's killing me. Number 2.
Well.
It was under 2. All right.
Those are always fun.
Well, I do have to say thank you very much for being a part. How can people get in contact with you today if they're needing an estate plan and needing help with their estate planning and elder law?
Yeah, so you can always reach out online, PolarisPlans.com. So Polaris like the star, plans.com. You can always reach us via the phone, 636-757-3850. And yes, as always, remember the choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. So I always have to say that if I give out my phone number and my website, of course. So you can always reach us out there. Reach out to somebody, get a plan, make sure you got it. That's the most important thing.
Thank you very much, Ray. You have a great week, and thanks for being a part of our program.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's great.
All right, guys. I am extremely excited about another guest that we have coming up. You're not going to want to miss this next guest. However, I do have this little meme that I'd like to share with you. Let's see if I can pull this up here. I don't know. Look, I had to put it up there because it was the Cubs. I just feel that way, right? Anyways, oh, look, a penny. He found something. All right. And maybe you feel this way when you go to Chick-fil-A and you recognize it's Sunday. Oh, my gosh. Sometimes you just don't even know what to do with yourself. I feel that way whenever I head to Chick-fil-A on a Sunday. All right. I want to take a second and make sure you guys have been with me now for an hour and 30 minutes. And it wouldn't have been possible to put this program on if it wasn't Web Insurance and St. Charles Financial that sponsored the show today to make all of this possible for you. With that said, they put together some attendance prizes for you. If you're just joining online and you'd like to go get these free attendance prizes, there are 3 different gifts that they are giving away today. The first gift is the scorecard. Remember, I told you the story of, let's call the client John. And John went out and got our scorecard and was able to take our scorecard and use our financial planning tool, which is a $1,500 value, and put all of that information together and then sit down with one of our specialists and guests, on the show, and have a conversation about their entire plan to make sure they were ready for retirement, to make sure that they had the legacy to leave to the children, make sure their college planning was done. All of that was able to be done just by utilizing those 3 free gifts. So go to webinsurance.com/scorecard and take your readiness, get your readiness score. That will give you a score, just like a baseball game has a score to say where you're at. This will give you your score so you know where you're at financially. Don't let it be like the person who's afraid to step on the scale before they start their weight loss regimen. It's okay to go get your score. It's okay to go to webinsurance.com/planner and get the planner and start to organize yourself. It is the person who makes the commitment that says, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go get a trainer. I'm going to organize my food, and I'm going to plan it out for the week, and I'm going to step on the scale and see where I'm at. It's that person is the one that's actually able to start to move the scale and help themselves in their health. Well, if you're looking at your financial health, it's no different. You got to step on the scale. Go get the scorecard. www.webinsurance.com/scorecard. You can take that scorecard and not go any further. At least it lets you know where you're at. Then go to webinsurance.com/planner. That's web with 2 B's, insurance.com/planner. And that will give you that $1,500 tool that we use with all of our private clients to organize your finances. And then once you're ready, you can sit down with a trainer, somebody in the finance industry that will help walk you through this aspect. Go to webinsurance.com/schedule, and we are happy to help you at Web Insurance. Now, our next guest, I did click the slide a little bit early, but I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. Our next guest is Sharon Osborne. She has different options for independent living. We're going to talk to her because as a owner of an assisted living locators in St. Charles, Missouri, she's thrilled to bring a no-cost senior placement referral service to the community. She leverages over 20 years of experience in education and team management, and she's committed to providing the best care options, resources, and information to seniors. Her dedication to the service and the community engagement drives her work, and she believes in every individual's right to a fulfilling and secure retirement. As part of Assisted Living Locators team, she's excited to extend personalized support to seniors and their families in St. Charles, guys, right here locally where we're at and the surrounding areas. With that said, I'd like to welcome Sharon Osborne to the stage. Hi, Sharon. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited to have you on the show today. I mean, you have done some amazing work here in St. Charles, helping people to be able to find independent living communities. With that said, I'd like to talk a little bit about people's different options. There's independent living, and then there's these other options that are available for people as they age as far as where they're going to live. What are some of those options?
Absolutely. There's independent living, which you don't need any assistance with anything. You just kind of want to downsize. You don't want to deal with maintenance on anything. You want someone else to cook for you. You want activities planned for you. Then we have assisted living, which is like kind of the next step down. Maybe you need a little help with some medication management. Maybe you need help. Maybe you need a little help with your bathing. You need someone to kind of stand there to make sure that you are not going to fall, since falling is a huge risk to any senior. And so that one, assisted living has someone available 24/7 to assist you if you need some help. And then we have memory care, which if you have a diagnosis of dementia, which there's all the different forms, there are some places that specialize with people that have dementia. They know how to help them have the best quality of life. Then we also have our skilled nursing, which that is going to be that higher level of care. So it's more than just med management or maybe a standby assist bathing. There are nurses there 24/7. They need help with pretty much everything. So those are all the different kind of choices that are available.
Drop in my mouth. Give me 1 second to get back and get organized here. That's what happens whenever I adjust a screen today. I'm either taking a drink of water or taking a cough drop or whatever. I'm making it through it. No.
And then I stopped talking. That was nice.
No, we're making it happen today. And those different options are so important. When we talk about living, which assisted living, independent living, memory care, and skilled nursing facility you go to is extremely important, because it's got to be based on certain things that you find important within your life. What are some of those questions that you like to ask people to help them better understand so that you can help them select the right place for them?
Oh, a lot of it is what are the needs of the person that is calling me or the family member that's calling me. Because if they don't need a whole lot, that'll change the place. Also, financially, what can you afford? There are different pricing everywhere. And then what is most important to them? Is it that they have a bingo club, or is it that they have a pool? Is it what different things do they need? Do they need that therapy in-house? Do they need a home health in-house? So there's all kinds of different questions to learn about the people, to learn where they want to go. And then once I have those questions answered, I look into my base. I've been to all of these places. I have been there many times. I know what goes on. So then I kind of narrow it down for the people. And then we go and I set up the tours. I do all the calling. Some of these other online places will just mass send out notifications to all of these different communities, and then they all call the person. That is so overwhelming. It's too much to handle all at once, especially if it's dealing in a crisis situation where your loved one cannot be home anymore safely. So it's a lot of medically what they need, financially what they need, and then that socially, emotionally what they need. I look at all that along with the reports from the state to make sure that there aren't any violations on the community.
You know, it's kind of like, it's almost like being like a real estate agent for different communities, right? Like trying to find the right home for somebody where they're going to live long term. But there's a major different component in that it's also understanding the needs of the person to make sure they're placed in the right community as well. Because just because I want to live in a specific community, okay, well, that weighs into the factor, but it can't be the only deciding factor if they don't have every single thing that you need. And then like you were talking about, it can be really overwhelming to have 30, 40 communities calling you all at the same time, where you're trying to schedule all these different tours and go do all this stuff. Why not just have one person who understands your needs that can kind of walk you through step by step what to do and where to go? Now, when it comes time to like filling out the application and getting everything together, are you part of that process as well? Or is that typically then start at the community?
I help as much as that family wants me to be there. I try not to overstep too much. If they're like, Sharon, we're good now, I will leave them be. But I usually keep in contact with those families many months after placement of their loved one, just to make sure there aren't any issues going on. If there are issues, I ask them to please let me know so I can bring it up to somebody, and things can change and things can be fixed if there is a problem. Usually I just try to stay in touch, just because I kind of get attached to some of these families, and it's a big decision for them, and I appreciate that they let me kind of help them through that. But I am with them as much as they want. I do go on all the tours with them. I usually am there on move-in day, helping them do whatever they need help with.
Wow. So you're even there on move-in day helping out. That's so incredible. So what do you say to the person that's like, I can do this on my own? Like, I can call the different communities. I can go find a spot. Why your service is so important compared to just trying to do it on your own?
People are welcome to do that, but it's very overwhelming. There are a lot of different choices in this area. And they're all over St. Louis. They're coming up everywhere. Every place has different things. Every place is a different price. So I kind of, like what you said, I'm a real estate broker for the senior communities. So I kind of know about all of them, know the places where I personally would put someone that I love, some places that I would not step foot into. And so it's way easier to just have the one person. I make all the calls. I set everything up so that nobody else is bothering that person, especially if it's someone that is still working their full-time job, just trying to find mom or dad a place to live so that they can be safe. So it kind of takes a lot of that weight off their shoulders, and kind of walk them through.
Yeah. How does somebody know, as they're aging, when it's time to make the decision to go into independent living, assisted living, memory care, skilled care, like you talked about?
Well, independent living is the easy one. It's a lot of times I get the calls and it's from the person themselves. I'm really tired of cooking for myself. All I eat is grilled cheese and soup all the time. I want something else to eat. Or they just don't want to do the maintenance on their home anymore. Those homes get so large and they're ready to downsize. So they're ready for just a 1-bedroom apartment. at an independent living community where a chef is cooking for you all your meals. But you can also cook in your apartment if you want. You're around peers, which is a good thing. Sometimes people isolate themselves when they age and they don't have any other seniors in the community. They don't have family around. They get kind of lonely. So that's when to go into independent living. Assisted living, Lyndon stated some of these things earlier, which is another reason to call for home care too. You notice that they're falling a lot. And that's a big risk, especially if they don't have any fall detection device. Who knows what could happen to your loved one? Maybe they're starting to forget to take their medicines on time. And that's a pretty important thing. If you've been prescribed that medicine, you kind of need to take it when you're supposed to. Sometimes they're not eating. They think they've eaten, but they haven't. Or maybe they think that one bowl of soup is great for the whole day. They do start to tend to lose weight, and that's unsafe. Especially with the dementia seniors that I've worked with, maybe they start to cook meals that they're, I've had someone that has blown up their microwave a few times. So then it was like, okay, we can't cook anymore. So we need to really look, and that client just had no idea that she had even done it. So then she wouldn't eat it, but then the microwave was blown up. So it's just that unsafeness in the home. When they just need that supervision is when you kind of want that assisted living, when you can push a button or call button, pull a cord, call a phone number, and someone can come and help you. Skilled nursing is when you really cannot do much for yourself. You need all of that care, and that gets a little overwhelming. And that's sometimes when people are aging in place, when they get to that skilled nursing level, that's sometimes when they start to think, this is a little much. Home care gets quite pricey if you're doing it 24/7. We probably need to start looking at a skilled nursing care facility.
And then I guess one of the, I got a couple more questions, but one of the major questions I think that's on a lot of people's mind is, we've talked about the cost of this care. How do you work people through the understanding of which community based upon how they can afford? Like, help me understand. I'm going to bring my mom and dad to you one day, and you're going to help place them in a senior community that they're interested in. It's independent living. How do you reconcile the costs and these types of things?
Well, and that's the tricky part. You got to look at what people are bringing in, Social Security, pension. I look into VA benefits. Some people don't get those when they're entitled to those VA benefits, and that can help with the cost of it. Long-term insurance, I look at what they've got in their savings. Hopefully they've got their financial planner or their elder law attorney, so I can kind of negotiate and figure out what they've really got for long-term. And as stated before, if you don't have that money, you can't apply for Medicaid. Applying for Medicaid is kind of a lengthy process unless you have someone like Ray do it. But the problem with the Medicaid is the beds are not necessarily available. So you don't want to depend on that. But there are some communities out there that you can start there in assisted living, private pay. When you get down to maybe 6 months of private pay left, they help you file for Medicaid, and then they continue to keep you. The other thing with Medicaid is that is only in the skilled nursing communities. There is no Medicaid for independent living. There is no Medicaid for assisted living. So you kind of have to remember that also when you are planning. So again, it is that financial planning piece that is huge, and just setting yourself up for the future, which is why I'm so excited that you are doing this whole webinar.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess it's important for all of us to understand and be comfortable with the people that we do business with, right? You have to know, like, and trust those people. I've said that a number of times. We also have to make sure that, just like a baseball game has a game plan going into the game, you have to have a game plan going into your finances. And so there's certain times along your life that's important to have these conversations. It's really important to start the process, though, of going to your scorecard and scoring yourself in every one of these different areas and saying, do I have a contact for when I need to move to independent living? Do I have a contact for the estate attorney? And do I have my will and my trust and these things done? Do I have a financial planner that's helped me set up and structure my, life so that when I get to this point, I can afford these things like we're talking about? this is a complex industry, Sharon. This is not, it's not easy for somebody to be, oh, I'm going to work with seniors. Like I know a lot of people have the thought process, well, oh, baby boomers, and I'll work with seniors, and I'll, there's a lot of opportunity there. It's not about the opportunity. That's not, nobody in the senior service resource thinks about the opportunity of working with seniors. We all think about, how do we support? How do we care for the community? How do we go get additional education and training? How do we continue to learn? That's why we even do shows like this, so we can continue to learn and be a part and learn how these different pieces all work together. This can be a complex mess. What in your right mind made you decide that you wanted to get into this industry versus anything else?
I think a lot of it is the helping people. Unfortunately, the seniors are the community that is kind of lost and forgotten. And to me, they are the ones that have worked. They have built up our country, and they deserve that quality of life as they age, instead of to just be thrown aside and forgotten. And unfortunately, you don't know what you don't know. So until you realize there are actually a lot of resources out there, you're just kind of flailing, like you said, and that's not fair to me for the senior population. I love kids. I worked in education for a while, but kids kind of are the highlight for everybody. Everybody worries about the kids. Nobody's worrying about the seniors. So I'm so happy to be a part of this group that cares about seniors, and we do things to help the seniors, whether it is just giving them a number for someone to come and clean their home, or whether it is giving them someone that can actually do their financial planning and estate. But there's some little things that they even need help with that I think they just kind of get left behind. So that's why I'm pretty passionate about this industry. I think they deserve that quality of life and that help.
Yeah, and I mentioned it in your bio, but I don't know if anybody heard me actually say it. What's the cost for your service?
I am a free service. I am, as you said, a real estate broker for the communities, but I also like to call myself the Rolodex of resources for seniors. I know a lot of different companies that work with seniors. I work with the SSR group, so there's financial planners, elder law attorneys. I know transportation. So if you don't have a car and you need to get someone, there are companies that can do that for you. VA benefits. We've got medical devices. If you end up needing a walker, a wheelchair, a hospital bed, I've got people that do that. Real estate agents, if you're ready to downsize. Senior centers, they have a lot of different things going on at the senior centers. Home health, of course. If you don't want to leave home, don't leave home. I'm not going to force anybody out of their home. There's a lot of memories. There's a lot of things going on in your home. If you want to stay, absolutely. I will give you those resources in order to help you live that best life.
Yeah, it's incredible. Guys, online watching, isn't Sharon great? I mean, isn't it fantastic to have a service that's based upon you, that cares about you, that's focused on helping you and where you're at and what you want to do? And isn't it great that this service is at no cost to you, that you can just reach out to Sharon and have that conversation and be comfortable and confident knowing there's not like a price tag at the end of that decision or conversation. Now, if you do decide to move into a place, obviously you have to pay for the place that you're living and the place that you stay, but to work with an expert who's a specialist in the senior industry and kind of can help navigate that process for you, what better person than to reach out to Sharon? Sharon, I have got an incredible interactive piece I want to do with the audience in just 1 second, but any last words about senior placement, senior community, and resources?
A lot of it is just do your homework, do your research. There's a lot of places out there, and some are not that quality where they're going to take care of your loved one. And that makes me sad that that happens. So be sure to do your research. I am happy to do that research for you. I've already done it. I'm happy to lead people along the way, as much help as they need. If you just need a number, I'm happy to give you that too. But I am happy to hold your hand as long as you need that hand held. It's a big decision.
All right, now for the interactive piece. I appreciate you hanging in there with us for a couple more minutes if you still have time, Sharon. I want to do a celebrity lookalike. You know when you go to the baseball game and they find people in the audience and then they put the celebrity up that they look like? We have that in reverse for today. We are going to throw one of the speakers up, and I'm going to give you some background on a celebrity. You might not know this first celebrity, but this particular celebrity is a Spanish filmmaker known for his works in the horror genre. He's the creator of a wreck zombie film franchise. Not a lot of people know of this celebrity, but Raymond Chandler looks exactly like Pablo. Like I couldn't get it any better.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. So the next speaker was one of our first speakers, Sharon. And get your reaction to this. I thought that this person looks exactly like an American retired actor. He's achieved fame for his roles in comedy and drama series, moonlighting, and has appeared in hundreds of films, gaining recognition as an action hero for his portrayal of John McClane in the Die Hard franchise. Who do you think that is?
Well, that's Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. There you go, guys. If you know who these people are, if whatever celebrity you think they look like, just go ahead and put it in the chat. I think I'm pretty close and accurate on these, but we'll see. All right. This next one, Ryan Gill. This is, we decided he is an American actor, film producer, screenwriter. He was ranked among the Forbes most bankable stars in 2007. And in 2010, he was one of the highest grossing actors of all time, starring in The Martian and Oppenheimer. Ryan will be speaking with us up next. Who do you think that he said he looked like?
Oh, I know that. Yeah, there you go. Matt Damon. That's who he is.
Gosh, these are so good. All right. So I figured we'd have fun and also talk about Sharon. So she's an American songwriter, a subject of widespread public interest with a vast fan base. She's influenced the music industry, popular culture, politics, songwriting, artistry, entrepreneurship, advocacy, and her fans are known as Swifties. Who do you think this is?
You think I look like Taylor Swift? Sweet. Thank you.
And thank you for being a part of our show, Sharon. How can people get a hold of you and reach out to you if they have more questions?
People can definitely call my cell. It is 636-577-9543. If I do not answer right away, just leave me a message and I will call you back soon. And thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being on, and I hope you loved your interpretation.
I do.
All right, guys. You guys have a good afternoon. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
All right, so there you have it, guys. We are almost all the way through. We got two more speakers left. And before we get to those speakers, I want to take a second and thank our sponsor for the show today, Web Insurance and St. Charles Financial. They're the ones that helped put this entire program on. Reason being, the reason they sponsor this program and why it was so important to them is because they wanted to give you the opportunity to be able to plan for your future. If you can't see the common theme here, you got to have a game plan. You got to know your score. And you got to work with a trainer, a coach, somebody that can help get you to where you want to go financially. And so the way that we put this together is the way you know your score is you go to the scorecard, webinsurance.com/scorecard. If you want to make sure that you can have a great score later on, you go to webinsurance.com/planner and organize all of your finances. And then the great thing is that if you will go to webinsurance.com/schedule, you can actually set up an appointment with one of our team members, kind of like a coach that will spend time with you, having the conversation, reviewing the planner, reviewing the scorecard, going over this information, and helping ensure that you've got a great game plan for a secure future. And so go to webinsurance.com/scorecard, webinsurance.com/planner, webinsurance.com/schedule. Those are the three different options. And those are the attendance prizes just for being a part of today. Remember, that scorecard is a $25 value. It's absolutely free. The planner is a $1,500 value. That's absolutely free. And scheduling an appointment to speak with somebody from our organization, there's never a charge for that. So we're giving that away absolutely free as well. So if you're ready to take control of your financial future and not sure where to start, go get these tools and resources that are given away for free today on the show. All right, our next guest, Matt Damon. No, we don't have Matt Damon, but we do have Ryan Gill, and he's going to talk about the big wealth transfers. Ryan is a fully licensed financial advisor, financial planner, and he's been in the industry since 2001 after graduating from St. Louis University. He holds a professional designation from American College as a chartered financial consultant, and a chartered life underwriter, which require Ryan to act in the client's best interest. I'm not going to use the word fiduciary, but he's required to act in the client's best interest if he were in their shoes. His firm, St. Charles Financial, is an independent firm, which allows Ryan to seek out the best and the most suitable products for his clients. He has a unique approach to financial planning in which he seeks out wealth transfers, or money being unknowingly or unnecessarily transferred to third party. Ryan uses this approach to truly help people be more financially efficient and to make the best financial decisions for themselves and their family. We're going to talk today about this concept of wealth transfers with Ryan Gill. Ryan, I love the fact that you focus on wealth transfers, but tell everybody a little bit more about this concept of wealth transfers and what is it? You got to unmute, come off mute, and introduce yourself.
How's that now? Okay. Sorry about that. No, yeah, you said a lot of it, Nathan. It's money that's really just getting away from us unknowingly or unnecessarily. So I chalk it up to just major financial decisions that we all make on a regular basis. As a financial advisor, people think that it's all about, hey, just picking the right stocks or picking the right investments. And yes, that's an important part of it, but also that's all these other things behind the scenes, these major financial decisions that we all make. And if you were making some financial mistakes, when would you want to know about it? I'd want to know about it pretty soon. And instead of saying, oh, in hindsight, I wish I would have made this change or done this 5 or 10 years ago. My job is to help people as proactively as possible get ahead of those common mistakes that people make, because there's articles that are written by, there's books that are written, there's magazine articles, there's newspaper articles. It just seems we're constantly bombarded with information, but my problem is it's very general information.
Yeah, that information is extremely important. In fact, I'd like you to share with everybody, you've got a strong background in financial services, and it's not just getting licensed. That's part of having a strong background in financial services. How did you learn all about these concepts of wealth transfers and having a better understanding of how to help people keep more of their hard-earned money?
So my background, just not just my education, but just my experience with working for 2 major firms. So just in my working with a 401k provider, for example, I was able to just discuss with people their personal finances, but also learn a thing or two along the way by studying for the tests with the American College. But a lot of it comes with experience. We work as a team here. There's several of us that have been around for decades. Jerry Grossman was one of them that we talked to earlier. So, as we get to know clients, certain things, certain people will make some mistakes that we help out with along the way. But then there's also certain just general knowledge that we have in the industry that we say, hey, we want to make sure you follow these important steps. And some of the wealth transfers, for example, there's 4 major ones, but there's also a lot of little ones along the way. And the system that we use called Circle of Wealth gets into the details of some of these to make sure we're being as efficient financially as possible.
Yeah, efficiencies in financial planning is extremely important. Ryan, we've been talking all day about this importance of keeping your hard-earned money. You work your entire life, you save, you scrimp, you pull it all together. And at the end of the day, you've got to be able to keep the money that you work so hard for. What are these areas that people are unknowingly or unnecessarily leaking money that they should be paying attention
to? One of the major areas is the home. So a lot of people will focus a lot on their home and basically it's how they purchase it, it's how they get a loan, it's how they have the mortgage, what interest rate are they getting. That's a major one. Taxes are another major one. We all pay taxes in so many different forms. It's dizzying, whether it's the income taxes that we pay or it's sales taxes that we pay. The government is constantly kind of adjusting those taxes, whether it's local or on the national level. So it's important that we're being as efficient in the tax realm as we possibly can. credit cards are basically just in general debt, is another major one. Just it would blow your mind if we just do a simple calculation on our circle of wealth. We can show people exactly, hey, if you've got $10,000 in credit card debt, how much are you losing because of the interest rate? It's usually around what, 10, 20%, so that money adds up over time. We consider that money that's getting away from you, definitely. And then automobiles are the fourth one. So those are kind of the four major ones: home, taxes, credit cards, automobiles. And we just try to streamline, advise clients, give them the most information as if we are the client, and then let them make those decisions. Not everybody agrees with, not everybody wants to have, an old car, even though it's going to save you some money. But just knowing how much value is lost when you first drive that new car off the lot, or if you don't shop around a little bit for the interest rate that you possibly get on the loan for the car. So there's all kinds of just decisions here and there. But those are the four major ones that we generally are covering with somebody, and find something in there that needs to be fine tuned.
Yeah, it's incredible. Now, you aren't focused on return on investment like a lot of other financial advisors. A lot of other financial advisors are caring about what people are getting on their stocks or their bonds or their CD, and what's the highest interest rate they can get and all of that kind of stuff. Why did you guys choose to focus on wealth transfers at your firm versus focusing on return on investment?
Good question. And yeah, I worked for two big firms, and that's really what was taught to me at those firms, which was, hey, find the right investment, chase the higher return. The reason I don't like that personally, yes, it's our job to find the best interest rate, but sometimes that comes with more risk. So if you're getting 10% and you want to get 12, or you're getting 12 and you want to double your money in 2 years or whatever, that's going to take an investment that is way too risky, in our opinion. Some people might get lucky with certain stocks, but also that risk comes with possibly having a loss. And there's a saying that I learned a long time ago, which is losses hurt more than gains help. So when you're constantly trying to chase that higher return, that next best investment, that lightning in a bottle, people often lose more, and then they're having to work just as hard or harder to catch back up from what they lost. So yes, the investment part is important. As an independent advisor, we can, like you said, look out to many different products and services that are out there that are available. It's like almost unlimited. I reach out and find the right one for the client, but if clients are not paying attention to these wealth transfers, that can hurt them in the long run. So I look at it as, in my heart, if my job is to help people, and that's why I'm in this business, then I need to be helping them with something else other than taking more risk. I need to help them take less risk, but also focus on these wealth management or these wealth transfers, so that way they can make the most financially sound decisions. So then they can really focus on earning, and they don't have to take as much risk. If we found some money in these other areas where they're losing money unknowingly or unnecessarily, if we fine tune that takes that money, instead of giving it to a third party, that puts it in their pocket, and then now they can invest that and be even more prepared for retirement. So I just think that conversation is important, and I look at it as how I would help a family member or a friend. Hey Ryan, I need somebody to help me out with my deck. My deck needs to be repaired. Okay, well, you're going to go out and get a couple of quotes and find out who the best person is for the best price. So I look at that in the same way with financial planning. If we can help people talk through their decisions on, are you filing your taxes appropriately? Are you taking care of the big elephant that's in the room? I'm happy to see your balance and your accounts is high, but why do we have these credit cards over here that are not being attended to? Those need to be paid off pretty quickly because it's hurting you in the long run. So I look at it as, one, it's a competition thing. We want to be better than those that are out there. I don't want to be just an order taker. I don't want to be somebody that just finds the next stock and moves on to the next person. So I invest myself personally in the business and also in the relationships that I build. So I see it as I'm helping that person in a much more deeper level. So I'm going to deepen that relationship. That's going to be best so I can help them in the end, in my heart of hearts, lay my head down on the pillow at night, know I helped somebody. But also confident that there's other companies that are out there that are so-called advisors, and I know that I can help better than they can.
Yeah, I got so many questions for you now. So you've talked about a lot of things, and one of the questions that came to mind, I got so many more after this now. One of the things that came to mind is you talked about wealth transfers, and mortgages were one of those things that you talked about that are mistakes that people make, is not understanding their mortgage. I've heard this concept shared before by you and Mike, and I'm going to say it tongue in cheek, not in a way to offend anybody, but in a way to help you better remember it. It's dumb to pay off your house early. I've heard that said in a kinder way in our office. Why is it dumb to pay off your house early?
So I look at that as not the wisest decision because well, let's say somebody refinanced their mortgage back during the last 10 years or so when we had incredibly low interest rates. So one of the traditional thoughts of thinking on finances, many books and articles, and people would say, hey, put as much money in your 401k as you can, and also pay off your house, and you'll have all of this left over. You won't have this bill later on whenever you're retired. I mean, that all sounds good on the surface, but if I've got a mortgage that's was refinanced back in the day, let's say it was 30-year mortgage, and mine currently personally is still 4%. So the reason I'm not in a hurry to pay that off is because I can invest on the side and possibly earn more than 4%. So if I use money that's in my savings account or my expendable money from my income, if I direct more money towards paying off my mortgage, then I'm paying off a 4% mortgage when I could be, that's an opportunity cost. I could be investing somewhere else and earning much more over time. So I'm taking away my investment opportunities with the markets. The last 12 months, for example, have been pretty good. We can't always rely on the stock market to do well, but we're seeing CD rates right now over 5%. We're seeing some fixed rates. So interest rates go up, whether it's interest rates or investing in the markets. If you're paying off your home, then you're saying, I want to divert my money over here and not save over here. So that's why it's not the smartest decision. Now, if somebody is now in a mortgage where they're getting upwards of 7, 8, 9%, well, then we need to start to do the math and really work that conversation and see if that's the best thing. But usually, paying off the house earlier, you're losing out on the investment opportunity, but you're also missing out on the time that investment grows with compounding interest. You do not have compounding interest, for example. Of course, it's a simple interest rate with your mortgage. So it's just where do I put my expendable money? I need to save for the future, but paying off the house more quickly often hurts more than it helps.
Yeah, and typically clients that come to you are in three different categories. They're either a spender, they're a saver, or they're a wealth creator. What is the difference between a spender and saver that comes to you and a saver and a wealth creator that comes to you?
Yeah, the spender is somebody who basically, they're going back to the credit cards. Once they get money, they either over leverage themselves, or they take whatever income they have. It's in the bank account. I'm now going to spend it on this or that. I'm going to pay, even paying off certain paying off certain debts that they have, or paying for investments. That's often somebody that's not saving for the future, or if they do, they keep getting back into the trap of, I've got the money, I need to pay these bills off, or I've got the money, I need to do this project around the house. So that's kind of what the spender does. Has the extra income or has the extra amount in their savings account and chooses to spend that or pay a bill off or something. Whereas the saver is somebody who definitely is more diligent, put the money in the bank, put it in all these different investments, all these different buckets, maybe even very diversified. But it's somebody that uses that money that's in the account and then goes and pays off something in bulk, or maybe goes and pays off a little bit more on their mortgage. So it's somebody that is very diligent about saving, but maybe isn't utilizing the best options to pay those things off. Because once we have a saying is that you finance everything that you buy. So either you're borrowing money to pay for something, or you're spending the cash or money that you have in savings to pay something off or pay in bulk. Either one of those that you do, you're taking the investment account for the saver, and then you're rebuilding that savings account back up. So the wealth creator is somebody who utilizes other people's money. So similar to a bank that leverages themselves. The Federal Reserve has requirements on how much money the bank has to keep on file, but then they can loan out the rest of it. So the average bank is loaning out $1 seven times, for example. So all of that money that they're loaning to us for their mortgage, for the mortgages, for the auto loans, that is not just coming out of cash in the bank. They're over leveraging themselves. So that's kind of what a wealth creator does, is finds other avenues, other products and services that can go to work for them while not having to rob their savings of that opportunity cost each time.
So I've heard you use the word opportunity cost. Just for giggles for the audience, will you please define what you were meaning by opportunity cost?
Yeah, so opportunity cost is kind of it is definitely a wealth transfer when we think about it, because an opportunity cost I see is if I'm going to take money pay off my mortgage with extra money that I have. So I'm taking that extra money instead of applying it to investing. That's an opportunity cost I'm losing because I'm choosing to pay something off or pay something down quicker, like the mortgage, versus going into a savings account where I can possibly get compounding interest, possibly get tax advantages. So opportunity cost is money that I'm losing because I'm diverting it somewhere else, but also I'm losing out on the compounding interest that it could gain if it was over in this bucket versus paying something down. So, but that's one example. Credit cards are another one. With if I have this interest that I'm having to pay on the debt, on the credit card debt, that's the opportunity cost. That money I could be saving over here in an IRA or my 401k or something. So the opportunity cost is really taking the wealth transfer idea. How much that's the opportunity cost where I could be choosing to do something more efficient and long term for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's so critical is to understand opportunity cost. I just recently learned it, so I'm right there with the audience. Like I didn't know what that was before I even started interacting with you guys and learning more and more about this whole concept of opportunity cost. Guys, we've talked about a lot of things with Ryan so far. We've talked about his background and his story. We've had the conversation about wealth transfers, about what they are, about unknowingly or unnecessarily transferring money to these other institutions. We've talked about mortgages and why it could be dumb to pay off your mortgage early if you lose out on an opportunity cost. And then we talked about opportunity costs. We define what those opportunity costs are so that you can better understand how to create wealth long term. Now, Brian, we all have this circle of knowledge that we got our information from. I learned a lot of this stuff from you guys because I was introduced to you. But where do we get a lot of our information from? What is this concept of circle of knowledge?
So circle of knowledge is really just you don't know what you don't know, and that applies to all of us and all walks of life. But our area of financial planning is, first of all, using this circle of knowledge or using the circle of wealth to find wealth transfers for people, having access to it and dialing in. Because once we find out we could have done something more efficiently, we usually want to correct that and do it right now and make that change. So circle of knowledge, we're not all subject matter experts in finances. I talk to some people that are more car mechanics. I don't know. I know about two or three things that I'm looking at when I lift up the hood and look at that car. I know certain. I know where the motor is. I know how to replace the windshield washer fluid, but that's about does it. And I know computers really kind of help the mechanics find out what the problem is, but they're still the expert. They're still the one finding out why my car is making the funny noise. I look at financial planning as that. We're going to lift up the hood on somebody's entire financial plan from A to Z. What are they not aware of? What is in their blind spot, if you will? So as the subject matter expert, circle of wealth, circle of knowledge gives us the tools that I might not have. Certain people that have this item that needs to be corrected, like maybe they're not paying off their home early. They've got that part, but there's something in everybody's financial plan that we're not doing the most efficiently that needs to be corrected pretty quickly. And the more we know about it, the sooner we know about it, the better. My job is to bring that information to light, find it, use my resources, not only Circle of Wealth, Circle of Knowledge, the system we have, but also our the network. We work as a team. If I don't know something, I'm reaching out to one of our companies, one of our vendors, and saying, here's the issue with this client situation. Here's the investment, and what help me make sense of this and help me find a good solution for them. So that's exactly what I do. I kind of utilize the team to then find something that maybe I'm not even aware of.
Yeah. So, and there's also things that, we thought to be true, but then they turned out not being true. So we have this knowledge, the circle of knowledge that we learned when we're growing up. We have the circle of knowledge that we learn from other people, and people help us get these resources. Then there's also this little piece of knowledge of things that we believe to be true that just really are not true. What are some of these truisms that people believe to be true that they've brought to you that just simply are not true that we can help set the record straight?
Yeah, so one of those is we also that goes in line with the traditional way of thinking that I described earlier. So if we found out something to be true that's not true, one of them is going to be, hey, you should pay off your mortgage as soon as possible. So that's one going. That's been several people out there, personalities on TV that have written books on the radio. That's something that they've been advising for a long time, and we do the math and decide, hey, that's not the best, most efficient way to do things. So that's one of them. Investing as much as you can, maxing out your 401k. That's another part of that traditional thinking. So why is that not good? So if I found out that, hey, I get to the end of my professional career and I want to retire, I've got all this money in my 401k. Well, if it's all pre-tax, I eventually have to pay taxes on that when I go and take it out. So that's one of the, not the myths that's out there, but just one of the things that's not as efficient as it can be, because with tax changes, we're going to see these recent tax laws sunset in a couple of years. So what that means is some people will be paying higher taxes in a few years than they are right now. There's also such a thing as having too much in that, what we call the pre-tax bucket in the 401k. There's a way to be more efficient, so where you're not paying as much taxes over time. So if end of my career, I have a very, very large 401k, let's say it's got $1 million or $2 million. What is my plan with that? Am I going to spend that down in my lifetime? If I don't, then I'm going to have to pass that on to my kids, my heirs, and they're going to have to spend that down within 10 years. So yes, it's a good problem to have to receive inherited money, but is there a more efficient way to do that? Some people think my 401k, for example, this piece is for my kids. Well, if that piece is for your kids and it's going to be taxable, what if there was a way to make sure there's tax-free money instead going to the kids? So that's things that we talk about. That's one of the things, if people knew more about that area of financing, then they would say, oh, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't, that's not the most efficient way to bring money to the kids or to give it to them.
Yeah, awesome. All right. So, we've covered a lot of stuff. I hope you guys are taking notes today. If you're learning from Ryan Gill right now, you're probably got smoking pencil syndrome, where you're just writing so fast that the flames are flying off of the paper, because I'm learning stuff right now as we're talking with Ryan. And I've had conversations with Ryan before about some of this stuff. So this is critical information. We're talking about having a game plan for your secure future. And if you don't have a game plan, if you don't have a coach, if you don't have the scorecard to know where you're at, are you really playing the financial game? Is there really an outcome? Is there really a goal that you want to win, that you want to achieve, that you're striving towards? Or are you just hoping and wishing that maybe one day everything's going to work out the way that it's supposed to? I'm going to tell you right now, try to fill out your own tax form. If you go out and do your own taxes, it's not that it can't be done. It can be done. The challenge is that it can be extremely complicated and confusing. Having a coach, having a financial planner to sit down with you and walk you step by step through what you need to do in order to make sure you're winning the game you want to win, the game you're trying to play. What are your goals? Are you trying to plan for retirement? Do you have a kid that needs to go off to college? Do you not want to have any debt whenever you retire? Those are conversations that need to be had with the financial planner so that you can open up that circle of knowledge, that circle of wealth. And Ryan Gill is an expert when it comes. Expert's probably a strong word. I probably should say he's a professional when it comes to dealing with the financial goals and needs and comfort level that you have as a person. And so, Ryan, what are some ways that you determine every financial advisor wants to do this for risk? What's your tolerance for risk? What's your tolerance for risk? What are some ways that you help identify this goals, need, and comfort level with people?
Good question. And everybody's different, of course. Everybody has their own. We have our required. We have even a risk tolerance questionnaire. So if investments are placed within a certain category, even though we're independent, we do answer to compliance and basically a big firm that checks at what we're advising to people. And I constantly have to explain for every trade, just like a lot of the big firms that our competition does. I have to say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. This is why it's best for the client. I do that every single time, and I'm going to do that anyway. But there are still checks and balances for that. So one, I'm making the decision when we sit down with somebody and we're developing their plan from A to Z. I'm going in there and I'm saying where are the inefficient strategies? Where are we taking too much risk? And risk can mean several different things. Somebody. It's a conversation with people. I'm trying to feel them out on their risk. If they tell me that they're conservative, and then I go and look at their investments, they've shared statements with me through this whole financial planning process, I can clearly see that they're not investing the way they think they're investing. So I think yes, it's about a conversation with people. It's about me going in analytically and seeing where they're at, but then also them filling out a very general risk tolerance questionnaire, because I want to see where they think they're at on paper and in conversation. I've seen so many times where the investments were not lining up at all with what they're talking about. And if somebody gets older, of course, we want to go with less risk and go more safety over time, but somebody will say they're safe, and they experienced a couple years ago in 2022 where both stocks and bonds were down for the year 15%. Because their advisor had said, hey, we're shifting more towards bonds. Those are going to be safer. My definition of safe is not the same as that advisor's definition of safe. Bonds do have risk. Stocks have risk. I go in and explain what is the variation of risk for that client, and we have that discussion, because there's other risks too. There's inflation risk. There's the risk of your money not making enough interest over time. There's interest rate risk. There's opportunity risk. We mentioned that before. If I make a decision, that kind of ties into the wealth transfers. So what we do is also show the client kind of once we do a full financial plan, where they're at from A to Z. We're usually using what's called the 3-bucket analogy, but we're also using the safe and risk tank analogy. And usually I'm showing a visual, but this is kind of what that looks like. I usually just draw it up, safe versus risk, but also 3 buckets is money that I'm pre-tax, also called tax deferred. That's your always tax bucket. In the middle there is going to be your sometimes tax bucket, and on the far right, that's going to be your tax-free bucket. If that's backwards, I apologize. But that's diversification, and somebody who thinks they're less risky than they are. Not only does our system kind of really get in the analytics of showing where exactly your risk is, but I think it's just being a human and talking to people and saying, are you aware that you're taking way more risk than you think you are? And then we adjust according to that.
Yeah, the risk is incredibly important. Adjusting for risk and knowing people's honest risk, being able to assess what is actually at risk is incredibly important. And it's part of that circle of wealth process that you go through. It's a 10-step process. And here's what you don't want to do if you're looking for a financial planner or trying to consider, should I meet with St. Charles Financial today or watching on replay? What you want to do is you want to make sure that the company that you're working with has a process that produces a result. Any financial planner that's quote unquote winging it doesn't actually have a plan for you. And so our process produces an output that we're certain that we don't miss anything. You don't want to miss anything in this step. Missing something in your financial plan can be a travesty in a wealth transfer, right? Can you talk about people who have brought cases to you that were previously handled by quote unquote a financial planner, and they show up with you and there's major holes?
Absolutely. And like you said, our process is, 10 steps. It's a procedure that we go through through everybody, for everybody. And sometimes people are coming in, like you said, with they just want a second opinion, or something's gone wrong, or they haven't heard from somebody. Or another common one is they received like a third or fourth advisor in the last 12 months or so from somebody. So what we see a lot is, I mentioned before, the risk. So that is a very common one. Somebody is taking more risk than they think that they are taking. But also, I see a very similar kind of cookie cutter portfolio, and I can even guess what firm they're with if they tell me which investments they're in. So basically, this, I mentioned earlier that it's almost, I'm not in the business to be an order taker, but there are a lot of people just being sold stocks and bonds or mutual funds. They're being sold a product, and that person is yes, they're helping with that product, but are they really helping if they're not helping with all these other things? So what we see a lot is somebody that's not helping with all of these wealth transfers. They're not having these deeper conversations about taxes, and how to be more efficient with those. They're simply just putting together a portfolio and hoping that it returns well over time. And our typical person that once comes in wants more. They want to have more of a balance of, if I need help going through the Social Security options, they need help with that. You mean, and then we'll see, why wasn't that discussed with the other advisor? Well, they didn't take the time to do it. Or the person's approaching age 65 while you're aware of your Medicare options. That's something that's often missed. So I look at it more as that we're not a retail shop that's in like a strip mall. That's not our clientele. That's somebody that just wants a quick investment advice, or just a quick investment to purchase. We want to help people with their whole plan, their entire financial life, so they're not missing uh, any of these wealth transfers, and they're making the right decisions financially. So that, in a nutshell, that's what we see a lot, is people come to us and say, yeah, I'm working with somebody, but I feel like something's missing. And almost always it's a little bit of the investments are, okay, I've seen this 1,000 times, you must be with so and so. But also, have you discussed Medicare? Have you discussed Social Security? Have you discussed what's going to happen to your money? God forbid you pass away, or long-term care insurance. So many times we've seen where somebody hasn't even had the discussion about long-term care, and the what if that can happen there. So it's just, I believe in helping people, and all of the different products and services are going to do it, but also the circle of wealth and our system, and knowing that there's just more to the conversation than just stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Like, anybody can do that part of it. We want to be something that's greater than that.
Yeah. So, Ryan, we do have an audience poll I want you to participate in and be a part of in just 1 second. But any final thoughts? Anything that we should have covered that is important to you, that's important for people to know when it comes to relationship with wealth transfers?
I think we covered a lot, and it's and often, in being in the business, and we're guilty of going down the rabbit hole and getting into the weeds. So the specifics really depend on that individual person. So what irritates us the most is somebody that's getting advice. They're not really getting advice. It's just a conversation that they had for 5 minutes with somebody, that they met at a party or something, and not necessarily is that the subject matter expert you should be listening to. So when somebody really wants advice on what they're doing, what their current financial situation is in, what investments they should be in, that's, talk to a professional, even if it's not us, somebody that's licensed, somebody that can help, and not just somebody that kind of doesn't seem they know what they're doing, or doesn't have much experience. Maybe it's I look at it this way: is when your red flags start going up mentally, that you possibly need to have a deeper conversation. That's our most popular client, and that's where we help out the most.
Love it. All right. So we got an audience poll coming up. I want to do this audience poll with you guys online. Again, we've been going now a little over 2 hours and 40 minutes. A little under the weather today. Appreciate you guys hanging in there with my voice as we go through all of this. Hopefully it'll hang in there all the way to the end. But I do want to bring up the audience poll. So if you guys are watching online, please go ahead and share in the audience poll, and we're going to see what Ryan thinks. Questions about how confident are you with your current financial plan meeting your future needs? After going through this program today and learning all the information that you've learned, I've seen all of you guys online, participating online. Thank you for being a part of everything we have. We got one more speaker, but the poll question is, how confident are you in your financial plan for your future needs? After seeing everything you saw today, number one, you're very confident. You have a solid plan in place. Number two, you're somewhat confident, but your plan needs some adjustments. Number three, you're not confident at all, and you're unsure your plan is adequate. Or number four, you don't have a financial plan. Put it in the comments. Where are you in this process? We got some comments coming in. What do you think? What do you think, Ryan, the overarching comments are saying? Where are people at?
I'd say probably a B, because if anybody is overconfident and very confident about their plan, I'll take that Pepsi challenge, and especially on the financial side of things. But there's some things that some speakers said earlier that I'm just not that confident of. So I'm personally a B.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of people that were at B right now. So that's what a lot of the comments are coming in. They're saying they're at B. So that's exactly correct. You're somewhat confident, but you feel your plan may need some adjustments. That's what we have Ryan here for. That's what our program is all about today. So Ryan, if somebody needs adjustments with their plan, how do they get a hold of you?
So our office number is 636-946-0001. My cell phone, a lot of people can reach me there too. It's 314-497-8899. And all we do is an introduction, see what questions people have, and then see if our program's right for them. That's our typical first meeting.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Ryan, for being a part of the show today. I really appreciate you being here and sharing your wisdom and knowledge with everybody when it comes to understanding their game plan for their financial future.
Thank you, Nathan.
All right, guys. So there you have it. That was Ryan Gill, better known as Matt Damon, as you guys remember from the celebrity lookalike process. All right. Dad, what's the postseason? I don't know, son, we're Blue Jays fans. That's how I feel about the Blue Jays this year, but maybe that way too about the Cardinals. Who knows? Hopefully things get a little bit better and pick up for the Cardinals this season, because they got to have a good game plan going into each game. If they're going to win in the baseball season, they have got to have a scorecard to know where they're at for their financial plan. And then lastly, they've got to have good coaching. I don't know if the Cardinals are struggling this year because they're lacking the coaching that's needed, but great coaches, knowing the score and having a plan, that's the way that you win games. And so we wouldn't be winning the game today if we didn't have our sponsor, Web Insurance and St. Charles Financial. We're extremely appreciative for St. Charles Financial and Web Insurance for sponsoring this show today and making this possible for you guys. And if you want to know how to get your attendance prize for today, there's 3 different websites you can go to. They're all webinsurance.com. So go to webinsurance.com/scorecard, and you can get a scorecard today to measure your score for where you're at right now. You can't win the game if you don't know the score. Go get your scorecard. Then, if you want to have a game plan going into the future, you got to organize all of your finances. Go to webinsurance.com/planner. That's web with 2 B's, insurance.com/planner, and get our $1,500 gift. It's a financial planner tool, allows you to organize your finances, get them all in one place, and understand what's going on. Once you've done those 2 things, maybe you've already done those 2 things, or maybe you just want to have a consultation with somebody. You're kind of not sure. You're in that B zone of our audience poll that we just did, and you want to meet with somebody to see, okay, where am I off track? Go to webinsurance.com/schedule and schedule a consultation with one of our team members here locally. And they can sit down with you via Zoom. They can sit down with you in the office, whatever you prefer, to have that game plan conversation to coach you through step by step, maybe some of those areas where you've been struggling and that you've been missing on. So don't wait. Go do it right now. Go to webinsurance.com/scorecard/planner or /schedule to get your free attendance prize for attending the show today. All right. I'm going to bring up our next guest. Our next guest is a lifelong resident of St. Charles County, Missouri. Michael Webb, grown up in the eastern region of Missouri and attending the University of Missouri-Columbia. He's been around the insurance industry his entire life. In the mid-90s, he started working in the financial services industry to help his clients in their planning. He studied under the American College, obtaining his CLU, Chartered Life Underwriter, and also his CHFC, which is Chartered Financial Consultant. He's worked in and around several charities, and he's been doing so since 1993. His family is his life. His wife, Elizabeth, and his daughter, Lily, they enjoy the outdoors, biking, and when possible, fly fishing. He enjoys friends, family, and the community. We must support our community and local business owners. Mike is one of those local business owners. I highly encourage you guys to support him, but you got to see if he's right for you. Check out the concept that he has been with Emmanuel Lutheran Church in St. Charles County, Missouri, and the Kiwanis for a long time. So we'll check that out with him in just a second. But I want to bring Mike Webb to the show. What's up, Mike?
How we doing today, Nathan?
Well, we are coming up now on 3 hours of financial talk, planning for the future. We've talked a lot about long-term care. We've talked a lot about wealth transfers. We've talked today about how to age in place. We've covered a litany of different things for people. And a lot of people are saying they got some tools and resources in place, but they're not 100% certain that they've got the best plan in place. What would you say, Mike, to kind of help us tie this whole concept together, help us have a better understanding of what we need to know?
So you brought up a few things in the introduction, Nathan, and again, welcome everyone. When I think about the industries, because we work in two, of course, right? The insurance and the financial services. And we tie that together with community, and we tie that together with a lot of the charities that we work for and what have you. It all culminates in trying to do what? It's trying to put people in the most powerful position they can with the knowledge that they obtain. And that's a focus of ours. So we want to have a consistent message. We do that in a 10-step process. And at the end of the day, it's just a matter of helping one another. And that's our goal.
Yeah, that's so important that we focus on community and that we understand that our job is to help. Our job is to care about the outcomes of your family and your life. Our job is to understand the legacy that you want to leave and how you are wanting to be a part of the community. Mike, you work with a lot of business owners through the insurance industry. You work, today's show, we talked a lot about aging in place and long-term care, and that's all personalized stuff. But there's a whole aspect of understanding how your financial plan works within your business, how insurances work within your business. Can you speak just for those people that are watching, that are catching the show at the very end, who are likely business owners, help them have a better understanding of what you do and how you do it?
So, one of the things I always point to, and I know you can't read it, but there is a financial pyramid behind me. And we always talk on the foundation being protection. As we continue to build wealth, we go up to fixed assets. So something that's guaranteed. We often heard Ryan, refer to it as the safe tank, right? And then, when you take the next step of growth, and the very top of that pyramid is speculation. The foundation of that pyramid in protection is absolutely it's just a necessity. And whether that be personal insurance, business owner insurance, and we have to define working with business owners as, hey, you have to have what? Liability insurance protection. You have to, what happens if you have something happen to you? There's life insurance protection. There's disability insurance protection. There's employer's liability protection. There's a lot of things inside of putting together the right plan for a business owner, because not only do they have to think about that, but they have to think about what? Their personal protection as well, because it really integrates. And, we like to talk about this, whether it's for a business owner or individual. This financial pyramid it's kind of like a hill, right? Everybody's thinking about building and growing, and we're trying to climb that hill. But then when we get out there, hey, business owner, hey, individual, what's it look like when we try to descend that hill? And, we have to think about it from both aspects. I think business owners are rather unique in that there are some opportunities in their planning that individuals simply do not have. And it takes a trained eye to see that. And that's an area where we want to continue to help our business owners, our clients, and people in our community to put them in a better place. And, at the end of the day, again, it's simple conversation. And I think we have to look at the personal economic cash flow model that we talk about, which is the risk in the safe tank and how money flows, how you end up working with opportunities. Ryan mentioned something about other people's money. That's a big piece. And we like to make sure that we tie that all together neatly and then plan on reviewing with that business owner and those individuals at minimum one time per year, if not more frequently. It depends on what they would like to do. And we have people that talk to us monthly or more frequently, to be honest. So typically monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, and annually. Annually would be the minimum.
So I appreciate that. And you said at the bottom of that financial pyramid was protection. There's oftentimes ways to save people money by structuring their auto insurance, homeowners insurance combined with tools like umbrellas that a lot of people are just not aware of on how you utilize that resource. And can you talk, because I've heard the concept of an umbrella a number of times. Can you talk a little bit about umbrellas and just kind of protecting your nest egg all over?
Sure thing, Nathan. It's a concept whether you're talking about business insurance or you're talking about personal insurance, right? So in personal insurance, this could apply to somebody who, really they have their home and their autos and that's it. Or it could apply to a personal business client who has their home, their autos, and maybe many pieces of property, and how you look at that to make sure it's protected. An umbrella liability insurance policy is simply there to wrap around those existing auto, home, business owner policies. So just to use, the most basic example would be if a personal insurance policy, an auto policy, has a $500,000 limit of comprehensive personal liability, and you have the same limit on your homeowners, the very basic umbrella is a $1 million policy that wraps those two items, and it provides $1.5 million in total of liability protection. You can then buy increments above that at $1 million a piece, so $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. And I think it's very important when somebody is looking at their planning that from a financial perspective, that they pay attention to that and get a gauge of what are their assets, what are their liabilities, how is it protected, how are they working with their attorney, their CPA, and the other professionals, to where often enough we as the advisor are spearheading that, believe it or not. And it's pretty common for us to talk with the client and to say, hey, you know what, you need to go talk to the attorney or you need to talk to your accountant in order to dive deeper in specific areas. Business owners are no different. With the risks that are out there for business owners today, I think a very basic level of liability for most policies start at $1 million, $2 million, or $2 million, $2 million, and that's per occurrence in what they call general aggregate limits. And you can buy increments of $1 million and up on an umbrella liability policy as well. And so really between us and between, say, an attorney, the attorney is going to, generally speaking, talk about ways to insulate and setting up LLCs or various ways to set up companies for protection. We need to be doing the same thing from a policy perspective and work with those other professionals to make sure that things are getting done the way they need to be.
Yeah, liability insurance through protection or protection insurance through the use of an umbrella is a tool that can be utilized. Not everybody needs one. You got to talk with the team to figure out what's right for you. But that's one area of protection. Mike, there are so many different holes that we talk about that people have in their personal finances and in their business. What are some of these other areas that people need to consider protection for that you see that have caused horror stories for people to lose their entire net worth?
So in the world of planning and how it impacts a family or a business or a combination thereof, there's areas of risk. So we all hear about, we have risk management, right, which has to deal with the liability protection. That's a big piece. And then you get into other areas of risk. I mean, when we talk about investments, there's market risk, there's interest rate risk, and other areas of risk. But then we get into an area of longevity risk, which is long-term care, and how that can impact somebody. So I can tell you, in working with 3 cases recently, that if somebody's dealing with a loved one that has dementia and they're living in a home, and I'm talking about their personal residence as compared to living in a facility where they have a lot more care available, there's a dramatic difference in cost. And when we start talking about that, somebody who needs really 24/7 care at their personal residence, that expense is mind-boggling. A lot of the numbers that I have been quoted and seen in these cases have been $20,000 to $25,000 a month, as compared to living in an assisted living facility to where you can age in place. Typically, it's about $10,000 a month or so, plus or minus in our area. And when you start comparing that to other areas of the country, it's different. So it's always good to do your research. When we talk about disability insurance, it's another area of risk that while you're working, okay, this is the opposite, right, of longevity. Longevity, you're trying to do what? You're trying to protect your assets and income and those things as you have these difficulties, whether it be a cognitive or a physical ailment, to where you need help. They define it as two of the 6 of activities of daily living, and then we have to compare that versus disability insurance. Like Nathan, you or I, while we're working, we have to think about, in the event that we're disabled and we can no longer earn an income, what does that mean to your business, to your family, and what have you? And I'm going to tell you that as far as the industry goes, I think disability insurance is one of the most underutilized products out there. And unfortunately, it's one of those ones that's just not talked about a lot. And if you think about it, if you go from, your income every month down to 0 because something happens, what's going to happen? And most of the programs that are available from a government perspective simply are not going to take care of you the way they need to.
Yeah. One of the concerns that people often have is what happens if they can't work. I think another concern would be is if you have a family, you have a wife and, a daughter, or you have a husband and, a son, vice versa. And all of your lifetime income that you ever made ends up going away tragically. How is your wife and children, or how is your husband and children going to carry on their daily functions? I know it's not something that we want to talk about, but we are talking about planning for the future. And there's an aspect to future of what happens if I or my spouse are no longer here. Can you talk? I mean, it's a pretty touchy subject. Can you talk a little bit about how you deal with that and what are some tools and resources people utilize in order to accomplish protecting their assets?
Absolutely. So one of the other areas of risk I didn't bring up would be in the event that somebody were to pass early. And it's a devastating impact. So the industry, our industry, when we think about the life insurance, which is a segment in our industry, they developed a tool years ago called a needs analysis. And the needs analysis is a mathematical formula basically that says, hey, based upon your income, your liabilities, so on and so forth, this is what you need as far as life insurance. Say somebody went through it and it's $3 million. And then you have a personal decision to make is how much do I buy? And we have to think about it for a husband and wife. We have to think about partners. We have to think about what happens in a business environment to where the business owner passes away. What's next? Do they have key people in that operation, right? So if, you can look at a business and say, if this person passed and as a direct result, we're going to take an income hit for the next 6 or 12 months, you have to manage through that. And if you lost somebody with a lot of experience to replace them, that's a big deal. Just like in a spousal situation, whether you are in a situation where you have young children, you're just getting started, or you're actually, retired. One of the areas that I think people miss is that we have to have a needs versus wants conversation. And the want is to make sure that everybody is completely taken care of. The need implies what? I only need so much to get me to where I need to go. And I think we have to reverse that train of thought and think more about the want. When we look at somebody who's retired, getting back to that, in the event that somebody passes, we have a problem, right, with Social Security. If you have a husband and wife, for example, that each are drawing Social Security, you're not going to keep both. You're only going to keep one. And when we look in the United States, one of the areas of concern for a large majority of the population is in the event that you lose one of those Social Security payments, it's a dramatic impact to that household. So we have to think about in the foundation of that financial pyramid and protection, life insurance is absolutely enormous, both for individuals and business owners.
Yeah, and I didn't want to shy away from the conversation of life insurance today because it's such a key part of planning for people's future, making sure everything is buttoned up in their plan. And if a good coach, if you're working with a good coach, if they're not bringing this up and having this conversation with you as part of your planning for the future, they might be missing the boat of everything altogether. You've heard us today talk about wealth transfers and the importance of protecting unknowingly or unnecessarily transferring money to these different entities or organizations or institutions. You heard us talk about opportunity cost. Nobody wants to talk about death. Nobody wants to talk about final expense insurance. Nobody wants to talk about life insurance. Nobody wants to talk about the things, their money. Nobody wants to talk about the things that are important to talk about in order to make sure that you have the education that you need in order to do the right thing. We consider it as a society offensive, or somehow it's a sensitive topic. And so we don't talk about it in social settings. We don't talk about it with other people. And this could be a major challenge, just not knowing. Mike, explain to people why they might not be getting all of the information that they need when it comes to their finances from their upbringing.
So when we think about how we obtain information, right, it's either going to be from a family member. It may be from somebody that you sit down with, and it could be, hey, it's at a restaurant, you're with a group of folks and you're just talking, maybe it's a meeting in a club. Whatever that would be, you have to look at how information is transferred. Usually it's family. It's going to be the people you meet, where you go. And also we have to think about the educational piece. And I don't believe I'm wrong in saying this. I think that we're getting better in the United States, but I still think that we severely lag on the amount of information to where people can learn early enough in their lives to where when they're young adults, they can transfer that information and knowledge and put it into practical applications so that they can end up setting themselves up for success and not failure. That I can tell you that when I went to the University of Missouri and being in political science and also in business as my majors, we're very good in this country with looking at, hey, how do we work within a company when we go to work for XYZ large company? In the accounting and management and sales and so on and so forth. But what about the personal finance piece? And when we look at personal finance, there's a lot more than just the basics of budgeting, income to expense. Some people use the analogy of envelopes, right? When you take a look at, hey, what do I have to spend money on each month versus what do I save? We have to be mindful of there's so much more to it than that. And when we listen to that information, we have to sit back and say, is this true or is it not true? I recall hearing something in this session. I believe Ryan mentioned the circle of knowledge, what you know to be true and what you know thought to be true, and then there's this little sliver. It's we call it the isms. Is hey, what you thought to be true, maybe some of that's not true. And there's an unintended consequence of not checking this out, and this is where I think our firm thrives in the way that we approach our 10-step process and how we go about this to uncover this with you. It's all about the client when they're sitting down with us in the first couple of meetings and finding out where they've been, where they want to go. We actually have a 10-question, one-page summary that we like to fill out and spend a lot of time on. And then there's also what we call a discovery questionnaire. It's for our firm to where it backfills some of that information with what was it like when you were growing up and where'd you come from and what's your beliefs when it comes to mortgages or it comes to protection or life insurance and where do you want to go? And I think that that's the number one, right? So whenever somebody sits down as a financial advisor, wealth manager, what have you with somebody, I think that sometimes we just bypass those very simple questions. Number one, what are your goals and needs and wants, right? What are your next numbers, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and how do you place those? And I think too often in our society in this country, we look at a portfolio and it's immediately dive in and what can we do with the investments, but we're nowhere near the answers yet because we haven't talked about all that backfilled information that we need to collect to really develop number 1, number 2, number 3, and 4. Because if you do that the wrong way, there's an unintended consequence that can hurt people. And if there's, say, for example, you find $10,000 that we could have done something with in this given year. Nathan, you mentioned a little while ago about time value of money. We have to stack those up. And what I mean by that is those wealth transfers. In the event that we find 7, 8, or 9 of those, and that equates to $15,000 this year, we do $3,000 next year in year 2. We find another $4,000 the following year. Put all that up together over a 30-year window at a rate of interest on a time value of money calculation, and that's what it's cost you. But in addition to that, there's not just the financial aspect. I want to take a holistic approach when you talk about planning. The holistic approach is not just the financial, it's everything. We have to remember there's other areas of risk, and sometimes it's how you feel and go about your life and how you're confident in what you're doing. Money helps with that, but it's not the end all be all do all.
Yeah, I think that we have to take a holistic approach to looking at our game plan because you can't, just like the Cardinals, when they're going out to play a ball game, they can't just consider the pitcher on the other team. They have to consider all the players on the field. They have to consider the weather. They have to consider, what players they have available, what resources they have to allocate. You can't just rely on the same old curveball or the same old fastball and think that you're going to win the game. Mike, when it comes to cases, I'm sure you've worked with a number of different people who needed a financial planner 20 years ago, and they never came in and met with you. They never talked about comprehensively the entire approach. The only thing they looked at was maybe stocks with their financial planner. The only thing they looked at maybe was with their insurance agent. They never put it all together. Tell me about some of those cases and tell me about some things that you fixed for people that have been challenges that they didn't even know were challenges.
So Nathan, I'm glad you asked that question. I often, and I probably haven't referred to it enough over the past 6 months now that I think about it. Being that one of my hobbies and passions over the years has been fly fishing. There was a movie out, A River Runs Through It. Everybody has probably seen that. And the two brothers, right? When we talk about the McLeans, and one of the brothers passes away. And there was a comment made by the father who stated, sometimes the person who needs the most help, they don't ask. And we have to think about that from a family to a business, there are so many people that, what's the coin term today? DIY, do-it-yourselfers. They need help. You have to ask. Whether you're a specialist in the medical industry to where I've seen people making a lot of money that don't ask, to somebody who doesn't make a lot of money, but they have questions, you need to ask. You need to seek, in my opinion, professional help to where we can put you in the right place, get you on the right path. And we want to make sure that we help you with those bumps in the road that we can get by as smoothly as possibly. And I'll use some examples. I mean, when I take a look at the medical industry, some people to where they've made high six-figure incomes and quite bluntly have nothing, and they have a lot of debt. I've seen it to where, teachers and other folks who, make a modest income, they've done phenomenally well because they've managed the way they need to. They lived by the budget and the constraints and things over the year that have helped them. So really, when you talk about the income range or asset range, what we're talking about, it applies to everyone, and it's how you manage it. When they talk about this big wealth transfer that's going on right now, I'm going to tell you, it's not going to apply to everybody. They're talking about the trillions of dollars that are going to pass down over the next 10 to 15 years, and we have to think about what are the risks, longevity, long-term care risk, right? What happens if somebody has a 10-year need and it eliminates 1.5 or $2 million because it has to be spent for that need. When we look at a family who doesn't have life insurance and they have kids, for example, that still need to be raised. I've seen so much over my career and through mentors that I've worked with and in mentoring other advisors that there's all kinds of things that pop up, even unusual ones, right? We have to be able to make sure that we're taking care of those as much as we possibly can.
I totally agree with you. And Mike, I want to take a second and make sure I thank St. Charles Financial and Web Insurance for being sponsors of the show, and bringing this educational information to the forefront of everybody's attention. Mike, there's 3 places that people can go to get help with their financial planning for the future. The first place we're calling their scorecard. This is the first attendance prize we've been giving people, webinsurance.com/scorecard. This is where they go through and get a score, just a score of 1 to 200, how their financial plan is doing, where they're at in their game plan. Then they can go to webinsurance.com/planner, and that's web insurance with 2 B's, WEBB insurance.com. And they can check out they can get a planner from us. This is a comprehensive planner that we use with our private clients. It's a $1,500 value. And then lastly, they can schedule an opportunity call with you guys to sit down and have a conversation and go through all of their different financial plan. We can look at their scorecard. We can look at their planner with them. We can go through this information and help them determine a game plan so that they can have a secure future. Mike, would you mind talking a little bit about that planner? We say it's a $1,500 value. Would you mind sharing with everybody a little bit about that planner and how important that is?
Absolutely. So there's 2 ways. There's a lot of different ways, I should say, that firms work, but we tend to focus on the conversation of, what we would rather see you, when we look at this planner, look at the information that's available, how we can work with you in order to turn around and give you options, not just one. We say, hey, this is option A. Once we end up reviewing this information, option B and C. And there's a lot behind the scenes with that. So whether it be, in that we have an insurance operation here to where, as we're going through this, one of the things that we ask for in that document is to be able to look at those policies, right? And say, what do you currently have? I can tell you that right there can mean a huge difference in the event that there's a loss. When you take a look at your goals, your needs, your objectives, how does this impact you from a tax standpoint? Okay, that's a big question. And I think sometimes people start thinking about the investments and how that portfolio looks before they think about the tax piece and how that impacts them. We often say if what you had thought to be true, it wasn't true, when do you want to know? And there's an unintended consequence for not taking action. I mean, whether you take action or not, there's a consequence, correct? So when we look at this planner, there's a tremendous amount of value in what we review, how we review it, how we apply it, and what does that mean to the end user, the client. And we'd most certainly like for our community to be able to participate in this and see what that looks like. I think you'll see that it's a good value, and we would look forward to that.
Yeah, as you guys can see, we want more for you than we could ever possibly want from you. We want to provide you value, education, information, resources, and tools to equip you so that you can win the game that you're trying to play with your finances, whatever that goal is, whatever that outcome is that you're trying to achieve. How are you on your score? Where are you at as far as your plan goes? Are you organized with your finances? I mean, heck, just organizing your finances alone is a major step in making sure that you get a good financial outcome. And then lastly, scheduling a consultation with one of our team members, an opportunity call, sitting down with one of our team members and walking through this information. There could be no better coach that's provided for you your entire life than to take the opportunity to go to webinsurance.com/schedule, schedule an opportunity to meet with one of the guys on the call. Again, Mike, I want to make sure that I say thank you for joining us on today's show and being a part of your game plan for a secure future. Thank you for taking your time to do this.
Very good. Thank you, Nathan. And thank you for everybody who's watching.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you for joining us today. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for joining your game plan to a secure future. We're incredibly grateful for your participation and time you've dedicated to enhancing your financial knowledge. Remember, I want to take a special thanks to thank Jerry and Jordan, Jerry Grossman and Jordan Tobin. They shared valuable insights on the cost of long-term care and government benefits that are available and helping us to understand the financial implications that are available. I want to thank Linda Priu, who provided a practical tips on how to age in place at home and emphasized understanding dementia and the importance of safety and being independent and care. I want to make sure I thank Ray Chandler. Ray Chandler walked us through estate planning, elder law, and highlighted the importance of making sure that you have a proper estate plan done. Sharon Osborne discussed the different options for independent living, assisted living, memory care, and talked about how she has a no-cost service that can help you find the place that you're looking to move to. And then, and also no-cost service to provide other resources for you. Then Ryan Gill explained the big wealth transfers, giving us strategies to manage those wealth transfers. And Mike brought it all together, synthesizing today's learnings and providing a comprehensive overview. So a big thank you to our incredible speakers, guys. If you're hung in there with us all 3 hours that we've been on today, if you've hung in there with us online, please make sure that you thank the speakers, tag the speakers if they're your friends. Make sure you tag them on the show so that they know how incredibly beneficial and powerful that their conversation was. Also in the comments, let us know, do you want us to do something like this again? Was this helpful? This information was helpful. Make sure you put a comment and leave a comment in the comments so that we know how helpful this information was to you. And now you're armed with this knowledge. So take action, implement the strategies we discussed today, and reach out to the speakers for personalized advice and use the resources we provide to make informed decisions. To support you further, we're offering that complimentary consultation with our team at Web Insurance and St. Charles Financial. This is your chance to get personalized, tailored advice to your unique goals. Simply go to webinsurance.com/schedule. That's WEBB insurance.com/schedule. And that will get you on one of our team members' schedule to have this conversation and share the replay with your friends, guys. You are on social media right now. Feel free to share the information. Share this with a friend or a family member. Tag a family member in the comments who needs to watch the full recap of this video. Let's continue the conversation and networking that we started here with each other. Continue it on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. These are all different platforms that you can find this show. And together we can build a supportive network to focus on financial security and growth. One final thank you and farewell. Once again, thank you guys who are watching online for being a part of this event today. Your engagement and enthusiasm have made it a success. Remember, the journey to a secure future starts with the steps you take today. We talked about 5-year look-back periods. We talked about a lot of different things that are important that you take action today. Stay proactive, stay connected, and let's achieve your financial goals together. Have a wonderful day. We look forward to seeing you at future events like this. And if you guys like it, make sure you comment. Thanks, guys. Bye.